PBO people, it's season 10 Stargazer. You know him, you love him, we're back. I'm joined by Ben. Say hello.
Uh, Hello,
I'm
I'm
joined
Ben.
by Zaw.
Once again to rank the teams. 10th
Who
season. The
10th
big
season?
10-0.
Zaw's back.
Yeah.
Season 8 Stargazer winner, Ben. Ready to rank the team, and unfortunately, with every one of these, someone has to be 14. So, Ben, take us away, please.
Yep. So yeah, we're back again. We've been doing this for a long time now. How we did this season 4,
Season
I'm pretty sure,
6.
right?
See,
Season
Me and
6 is
you.
when
season, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
season 6 is when me and you did it. I think we did because I've got a video for
Yeah,
season
you've
4, I
you've
think.
attempted it with different people before Zaw was
Yeah,
here consistently.
we've been doing this a long time, but me and Za as a duo, we've been doing this for
At least a year
4
now.
seasons
At
now.
least a
Yeah,
year
for a
now.
long time.
We've been here
And
since
we'll
Pokemon Blue.
That is
We've
yep,
true.
been ranking people since Tauros was number one.
and we'll start ranking off this the 10th anniversary, so to speak. I guess it has been 10 years, but the 10 season anniversary with the Tottenham Hoothoots, coached by Triple Star Hunter, Trainer Black. And this is an interesting team that we have here. It's got a lot of the typings, I suppose you could say, you would want on a team, but ultimately it falls short, I would say, in the star factor, uh, in how kind of quality. It has a lot of miscellaneous, I would say, quote unquote, fast Pokemon with like non-Terra Inteleon. Inteleon's actually a pretty good Pokemon if you Terra it. Without Terra, it's walled by like every water type in the world. Your round one guy is Galarian Slowking, and I believe he wasn't really that low on
No,
the
it's like 6th or something, right?
yeah, pick list. So like this season we did ban Valiant, and we banned, like, there's no Terra Torn in this league, for example, and we banned Polt. So there's like a shrinking list of round one viable Pokemon, but there were still some really strong guys available in this slot. Like I think Terra Zarude was available, Terra Wellspring, that kind of thing. Even Deoxys Speed, where Glow King round one. I'm a big Glow King fan. Me and Za, we've both been known to use the King, and
Yeah.
even King Bax is a really good combination. But just value wise, like for the proposition of where you pick them, it's not smart to start a draft off with them. Usually, it's not even really necessarily smart to get them second, third round. Although I don't hate that, but getting them first, second is pretty bad. If you get them like third, fourth, that means your team's probably really, really strong. Um, so he kind of got like something that would be on a really, really strong team for like a third, fourth pick, and then he also has like I said, some odd uh kind of miscellaneous mons like a Frostlass and a Hawlucha, who I can't really discern why they're here. He's got like a semi snow team going on, but I hope he understands that you aren't allowed to run Snowveil on Frostlass. Um, and also his ground is Mudsdale, who's a Pokemon that I have used once and now and forevermore will be vehemently be against. I really don't like Mudsdale. I think it's a really momentum sapping, almost do nothing Pokemon that like really wants to have a recovery move, like more so than the other grounds that don't have recovery moves, which is like almost all of them except Hippo, which by the way I like Hippo in Gen 9. So that shows you like my bar for grounds isn't really that high. Like a lot of people don't like Hippo. I kind of like Hippo like a lot, and I like Donphan, which I know a lot of people don't like. Mudsdale's like a good 2 tiers below those guys for me. I really don't like Mudsdale. I think this guy is really difficult to use correctly. I do like Grimmsnarl. I think Grimmsnarl is a really solid Pokemon. Uh, I like it as a screen user. I like it as like a bulk up setup guy, or even just a straight up attacker. It's pretty strong, stronger than people expect. But I think the Terra captains on this team are a bit weird. I think Terra King Gambit is a bit underexplored. And Terra Glastrier is always going to be strong, but again, it's another like scenario of it's decent Terra Captain wise, but nothing spectacular, especially for the Terra Captains we now allow in this league, with like Terra Enamorous flying around, Terra Zarudes, Terra Wellsprings, Terra Raging Bolts, all those guys, kind of just going around all over the place. The fact that your best Terra Captain is Terra King Gambit, that's like just a step below the other options potentially on the board here. Um, it makes for a very awkward team. I do like Cyclizar though. I think Cyclizar is a very strong Pokemon in Draft League. Probably one of the better rapid spinners. A good utility Pokemon that actually also hits pretty hard. People don't expect Cyclizar to do as much damage as it does if you prep it correctly. What do you think, Sa?
Well, like Ben said, the reason that this is down here is because it doesn't have a first pick, maybe even a second pick. Like, this is a normal Tottenham draft, right? Like, it has the few guys that'll steal some games, the Baxcalibur, the King Gambit, some weird Halucha on burn set, and like you could do Azel's interesting for 1 point, like it's a funny Terra. But where he was, he could have picked like this same top three, but instead King Gambit was Zarude. So like that's what you could have the same team, just change a couple of things around and have Zarude as the top pick. Because I think Low King would probably come back, and like Bax only gets picked in the first 3 rounds if the guy with Slow King takes him. So you probably could have gotten that too. But
Yeah, I will say, the Gambit, uh, what's it called, will probably be the Bloodmoon role of last season, where he probably gets like 1 or 2 games with it,
I
just
think that was
because.
actually 2 times ago.
Oh yeah, what's that? 2 seasons ago now.
I think so.
For
Yeah,
which
last
So
one?
was
like,
Garrett Fire.
Tottenham, like either last season or the season before that, kind of had like 2 or 3 games that he won, like literally just Blood Moon doing stuff. Like
Wasn't
Oh
he
that the
beat
yeah,
three
Mary.
protein? That was the three
yeah. That
protein
was the
starters.
three.
Blood
He had a
Yeah,
Moon.
reverse sweep
he
with Blood Moon
yeah
on
he
Garden
beat
City.
Mary and he like reversed he reversed swept Garden City, and Blood Moon like was just did literally all the work.
Yep.
I could see because King Gambit has that built into him. I could see King Gambit like being with Terra being like another version of that, where he gets like 2 or 3 wins just off the back of something with Terra King Gambit,
Yeah,
who is a pretty powerful Pokemon.
yeah, he's got guys. I like this is not going to win no games. Gambit and Baxcalibur will win like 2 or 3 games. So this is a normal Tottenham team. He always drafts this kind of team. He knows it's just a bunch of guys.
Yep, I think we can. I I wish the Inteleon was something else. I think I would change out Inteleon, Frostlass on Hawlucha, and I would scour the board for a ground. Um, I would even look at I don't know because I
Because
don't want to say Hippo because he is snow, but I would look at like any other ground personally.
he
Although
also doesn't
Mudsdale
really have
can do stuff, but
he doesn't really have a water, right? Because Inteleon is the water.
yeah,
So
Inteleon's the water.
Here you go.
All right, we can go
On the
on.
Blackthorn. On the
Yep. Okay, this is an unfortunate tale of the draft, I want to say, in that he was the 14th pick and there just really wasn't anything good left. And then he had to, after picking, go all the way back around. I probably would have picked because you really need to pick some like damage dealers, in my opinion. I probably would have picked Garchomp. I believe Garchomp was available here for him. Um, I think like Garchomp Dio could have been pretty viable. Instead, we get this hazard stack kind of thing with Tinglu Gold, which isn't bad, but it's a style that's been explored before. ever so slightly outdated in that it doesn't like work exactly as it used to, and this team isn't really fat enough to fully take advantage of the hazard stack. It is fat, like you've got a Pex and a Florges and a Latios, but I don't think it's fat enough. You have Terra Quaquaval, who's trying to take advantage of the spikes to sweep. So like I get the core intent here. I just think the team's quality isn't like in the Pokemon isn't high enough in comparison to the other teams to really pull it off. Like having Florges in the 5th round. Florges is an okay Pokemon, especially with Terra, but it's really easy to take advantage of, and it doesn't fulfill like super necessary roles. Heartflame's a very good Pokemon in my opinion. I think that's a strong pick. Toxapex is on the up right now in draft, and I think especially with Terra, it's not Terra Hair, but especially with Terra, Toxapex is actually a pretty nice stat block. But ultimately, by the way, I think over Gold, Kilowattrel might be Terra on this team. Um, if it's outlining Gold as Terra, but I'm pretty sure it's Kilo. And then like Staraptor is an okay Pokemon. Garden City had it a few seasons ago in like season 8, and she did some really cool stuff with it. But it's ultimately a pretty gimmicky Pokemon. And Vikavolt also, uh, like these Pokemon aren't bad necessarily. I just think he kind of got a bit screwed in his draft position, and it led to a relatively underwhelming team to come out. What do you think, Za?
Yeah, I mean, like the speed thing is going to be an issue because, like, I just looked at the doc. It's not Kilowattrel, unless it's wrong on the doc. It
I'm I,
is
Oh,
Golden Go.
I'm
yeah,
checking
it is
chats.
Gold.
I don't see anything where it
It is
said Terra
Golden Go
Kilo.
Quaquaval. So then
It it is
the
Gold over Kilo. Yeah,
the only
I,
actual yeah,
I'm gonna say
the
that's
only
worse than it being Kilo, by the way,
the
which is
only actual
unfortunate.
speed guy, like you don't really want to bring it. I do think so. Like, what can this do that's interesting? It has the maybe the best spin block. Think maybe Ape or actually like if you actually want to block spin, it might be like Annihilate. That's the best spin
No,
blocker.
the best spin blocker is Petron, and it's not really close in my opinion personally, because
Or if you're actually stopping the three that do it, it might be Sinistra in draft.
it could
But
be Sin.
um, so what? But Hearthflame might be one of the best webs targets in the game. Like in draft, it might be Ogerpon Hearthflame. So he's got that going. And honestly, Staraptor as a webs recipient, like that gets a boost from there being webs, is also a very like they're not the best that they could possibly have, but Ogerpon H actually is one of the better ones. Um, Florges is actually like again in high tier Terra, you don't really want to tear the Florges, but Florges is get if you get Florges coverage, it's actually really good. Um, but yeah, I mean, when you look at it again, it just doesn't look like it had, which it doesn't because he picked 14, so it doesn't really have a first round pick. Like he went down this route. I think I told him I would have taken Garchomp and Palafin here, probably.
Yeah, I think he needs a little bit more oomph, a little bit more damage or something.
But like Gray's very good, and this has relatively good sustainability. It has a plan at least. So if you follow that plan, it's not going to be like when you see this, it's going to be annoying at the very least. Like this isn't going to do nothing. So
Yeah,
I think
and
he has sets. He has
yeah, and
Healing Wish to Ting Lu. He has Ogerpon plus webs. He has Staraptor plus webs. He has Spike Stack and Toxic Spike Stack plus Quaquaval. Like he has bulky Golden Ghost set up. He has a lot. He has things he can do. It's just the speed issue. Um, the one really, I mean, Staraptor is a good Scarfer, but it kills itself. So the Golden Ghost is probably the best Scarf Pokemon on this team, and then like it's your Terra, and its best set is probably Bulky and Drift with T Wave. So it's gonna be tough, but this is a better chance to go like 4-4 than the team we just saw. I think.
yeah, I think navigated well, this could be navigated to 4-4 or even 5-3. Um, I think Latios is an interesting Pokemon. It has base 110 speed, but really, it's not. At least in my experience, it doesn't usually utilize it that much. Um, I think overall the team is just a bit lacking in immediate power. Is probably the best way to put it. You need to snowball. You need to set up. You need to get into your position to get things going.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can move on.
Toronto. Toronto Staraptors TS. There we go.
All right. So this is a pretty interesting one. So the reason this team is slightly ahead of Gray in the power rankings. So me and Za, the power rankings this time are an aggregate of me and Za's rankings. And the reason this one is a bit ahead of Gray's is mainly because of, in my opinion, the power of the Terra Captains and kind of what that allows the team to have breaking wise, which is Hydrapple and Rapid Strike being really powerful potential Terra Captains that can kind of do anything in a given matchup and break through any defensive core, which can really open up the game. I really like those two as Terra Captains. I think Crocodile as a Terra Captain's also interesting. I really like Crocodile. I think the Scale Shot set and like the Scarf set are both really, really solid. Defensive Crook, not so much this gen. You can't really do those like semi-defensive sets, like the kind of archaic, I guess at this point, like defensive Arcanine, defensive Crocodile. Those guys who, because they had Intimidate, they could technically do a defensive set. You can't really do that too much anymore. But Crocodile's still really, really good as a ground because it has Moxie and it has some potential offensive, really strong offensive capabilities and some really good coverage with like Gunk Shot, and it also does have Intimidate. So like even if you're not necessarily walling stuff, getting Intimidates off is really really strong. I think Clefable, getting Clefable that late is really solid value. Clefable isn't like spectacular or anything in Gen 9, but it's still a very viable fairy. And if you use it proactively instead of super passively, it can get some really good value. I like Harkonine as well as a Pokemon. I think it's better with Terra, but like I think if Crocodile didn't have Terra and Harkonine had it, the team would probably be slightly better. But it's still a really solid Pokemon. I think Corviknight round 2 is for sure a bit troll. You don't really take Corviknight round 2. Tentacruel is an alright spinner. I think a lot of people really hate Tentacruel. I've used it before. I don't think it's that horrendous, but it's certainly not that good. And it gets spin blocked a lot because its knockoffs do pitiful damage to all the ghosts. It does like 15%. Noivern is a pretty. So, like, if you look at his top speed, it's Ribombee and Noivern. Both of those are pretty tough top speed options. They're both weak to rocks, so you have to run boots. They're both, or Rabambi's just dying immediately right away if it's leading for the sticky webs. You don't have a ghost, if I'm looking right, to block the webs from staying up. So that's unfortunate. It would probably have to be Apple going Ghost to block so that your webs stay up. But if that's the case, then your Rapid Foo, who's probably your best recipient of the web staying up, can't Terra because your Apple is terraing to block the webs from going away. Thunderous Therian is a pretty decent Pokemon. With Terra, it's way more threatening. Without, it's still not terrible, but its sweeping capabilities are much dampened, much less significant. And so ultimately, this team I think has better breaking power than the previous two teams we've seen. But a few more awkward holes. This team's also slow, and his top speed options are a bit copium. But I like the Terra captains here better than any of the other teams. Terra Hydrapple, if used correctly, can win literally any matchup 1v6, in my opinion. What do you think, Za?
I do think just without me going back and looking at the two previous teams, I think Hydrapple's probably the best Pokemon on any of the teams that we've seen so far. That makes sense why this is here. I'm so confused by. I just want to say this while I'm thinking about why is Noivern on this team? I just don't understand, like why it's here and what it does on this team.
Yeah, it does
Um,
feel like it's just here
yeah, I have no idea. There's a
for no
fast guy. There's
particularly good
already a
reason.
dragon. There's already there's already removal. Like I genuinely don't understand why it's here. Um,
To have a guy fast that's not Rabambi, I guess, because Rabambi's dying in the first 3 turns probably. But
yeah,
I
but
don't
okay.
fully get it.
I think the Arcanine's probably like Ben said. I think this guy is actually like it always seems like this should do a lot, but then it never does. But I still think it could. I think if somebody played this well, it could do something. But I think why this couldn't be higher, even though it has Hydrapple, it really just looks like a bunch of random guys, like that. Like you just
It
like
is. It
these
is.
guys.
Yeah. The team cohesion is low. It's like Rabambi round 5, very kind of random. The non-Terra Thunderous Therian here, pretty random. Even the Harkonine I mean, Harkonine always feels pretty random on a team
Yeah,
because it
it always
doesn't
is.
do any. Because
Especially if
it's
it's not Terra.
because
Yeah.
roll compression wise, it doesn't do anything. So to have it, you're kind of sacrificing a poke because it's actually a pretty good amount of points on not even just this board, but like in general in draft, they put it at like 12 points a lot because it is pretty strong. So all Harkonine really is a semi like not that fast breaker. So to have it on a team as like a 12 pointer, two types that you don't need in draft, it doesn't compress any rolls. So it's usually a luxury pick on drafts that have really high roll compression. And I wouldn't say this team has really high roll compression.
What I would say what you do have is like you have the Hydrapple factor. Both Arcanine and Rapid Strike are, again, it'd be better if it was Terra Thundurus is a really good Webs recipient. But the Arcanine and the Rapid Strike are both high value. Like if you're gonna have a web strategy, you have to have things that actually benefit from it. So he has at least two things that are classic web targets in Rapid Strike and Arcanine. I think the Noivern should just be like any ghost because like again, I don't know what the Noivern does. So like there's gotta be a user even like Dusk Noir, Houndstone, like
Yeah.
some guy.
And you'd have points left over if you did that. You could probably Terra the Hark, because I'm imagining the reason the Harkonine's not Terra is because it's more points than the Terra Crocodile, because Harkonine's a more classic recipient of Terra than Crocodile. But if you got like a lower tier ghost, you could Terra this Harkonine, which could be greatly beneficial, I would say.
Yeah. I think that's about it for this one.
Like if I'm looking, yeah, Harkonine's 2 extra points to Terra.
So he only needs one more
Crocus,
point.
yeah, he needs 1 more point. So if he got rid of Noivern, who we have at a ton of points, honestly. If he got rid of Noivern and made it Miss Magius, and then took Terra off Crook and put it on Harkonine, this team would be better.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Miss Magius is actually 1 less point than Noivern, and Miss Magius is straight up better than Noivern by a pretty
Probably
good amount.
almost certain. Definitely on this team.
Yeah, for sure. I would say look at doing that, Toronto. And we will move on. Ooh, this team, the Worcester Woopers. Okay, so this is an interesting one. So, uh, we probably could say like, because we haven't actually mentioned uh the exact rankings that each of these guys are getting. So Tottenham had an average of 13.5, Gray had an average of 13, and Toronto had an average of 12.5. And those guys were like the definitive bottom three. These we take like for Woopers that we're getting into gets up to 10.5. So this is like a 2 point jump up. So like those three that we just went through were the definitive bottom three, in my opinion. I think you agree, Sa.
Yeah. Yes.
And we've kind of jumped into another tier of like middle zone. I think these teams, because if I'm being honest, I went through the teams this season, and we did this last season too. And I thought there were some actually like bad teams last season. Like I thought there was a good chunk of the teams were like very confusing. This season, I think a good majority of the teams are like make sense and are pretty usable. I quite like a good majority of the teams this season, and I think this is the kind of tier of we've hit the teams that I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I get what's going on here, and I kind of like it. Um, and because like I had Woopers up at 8, and I think you had them at 11, and that's how we got to a 10.5 ranking. Um, or no, I had Woopers. Uh,
I think I had them at this spot.
yeah, I had you had him at 11. I had him at not 8, but I had him at like a 10, I think. So right around here. Um, so here's what I like about this team. I really do think, given the board, Porn Terra, Tornadus Therian, Don Terra, isn't like a horrendous pick. It's not great, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. I like uh, going with Terra Excadrill with it. I think that's a really because you have Bleak Wind now and stuff. I really really like that idea because you can kind of get in the Excadrill and the Tyranitar better utilizing the pivot power of Tornadus. I really like Sinistra. I think that's a really, really great draft Pokemon. I'm a big fan of Hatterene, and I think Muck's a great low tier poison. The other two Terra Captains, Hoopa Unbound and Manaphy, both can do something. I think Manaphy is a little bit underutilized, honestly, in Scarlet and Violet nowadays because and its point value has dropped so rapidly that I think it's actually kind of worth the value that we put it at now, which is like 10 points or something insane like that. I think Gouging Fire round 2. Gouging Fire is another one of those Pokemon where it's like it's good, but because it doesn't really compress any real rolls, it doesn't usually go. It either doesn't go or it goes really late. I think it's still a very solid Pokemon to pick up. I wish it wasn't the round 2, but regardless of that, I still really really kind of like it here for its breaking power in conjunction with like a potential plot Tornadus Therian and a potential Sand Rush Excadrill. I think this team's very strong. Hoopa Unbound's really strong. The setup threat potential here with Excadrill, with Gouging, with Torn, with Manaphy, all of that's really nice. Tyranitar is kind of an undervalued Pokemon, in my opinion, in that it can always kind of do something because it's so fat under the. Because Tyranitar essentially has like over 600 BSD because it gets a Spadef boost on switching. Tyranitar is just unbelievably fat pretty much no matter what. I will say the one Pokemon that doesn't really fit for me is Palmot, but I understand that without the Palmot, this team's like really slow, other than Torn T. But I don't fully understand, other than being a speed tier, what the Palmot does for you here. What do you think, Za?
Just because I have it up, I had Woopers 10 and Ben had them 11.
Yeah, for
That's how we got
10.5.
10.5.
Yep.
So this is the out of the other ones, I don't feel like they can win games. Being functional doesn't necessarily mean that you'll do better, but this is more functional on paper than the other teams. The speed gap from 120 to, I mean, I'm not sure Palm wants here, but like from 120 to like 105 is okay. Getting a couple of points over 105, like even to like 108, I find makes a big difference, especially if you don't have a lot of priority, which his 105 mon, I think, is his only guy with priority, so he doesn't have great revenge killing here unless it's by Torn
Muck
or
has
use
Shadow Sneak.
yeah,
That's
the
it.
legendary Muck Shadow Sneak. But I think if you have a late round pick, building around sand makes sense because it's such a high value play style. The gouging and the Excadrill, and this is a good thing, it's going to sound like it's a bad thing, but they have the same checks, just big, bulky, physical, like probably ground types. Last season, Blue Fusion used Sand plus Blaziken to pave the way for Excadrill. I think you could do the same thing with this if you do mid game booster attack gouging and just like run into the ground type on the other team and one like trade 1 for 1 for it and then use Excadrill at the end. I think the reason this is down here is I don't understand why Hoopa Unbound is here on an Excadrill team, like when Excadrill is like a top tier Terra, because it's so many points and a guy that like it just doesn't help the team in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I will.
When
Yeah,
you could
it
it
doesn't roll compress to give the team like
and
if that was a decently strong spiker, that would be huge. That would be really nice.
because it just seems strange on this team when you have a pretty dedicated like you're torn sand, you're regen sand, right? So it doesn't do anything for this like this play style. And also, its best set is probably Scorf, but also the Trick Room set is really good. But you could just do the same thing with Hatterene, like maybe not better, but roughly the same thing. And then I think you'd be better off getting this Hoopa Terra onto the Sinistra, and then get using these points to like get something else that helps you do your main thing, which is break with gouging into Excadrill.
Yeah,
And then you
like
have your secondary win con in the Sinistra. Or I agree Manaphy is like it can definitely do something. It's just the issue of being a mid-tier Terra in a high-tier Terra league when like if this is your water and like it's not good at being a water.
yeah, no,
It's
it's
just not good at that.
you can't use Manaphy as a water. You have to use Manaphy as a setup stat block, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's why this is down. That's why this is down here. The sand play style like can win. Like Ben said, Tyranitar has
Yeah,
gotten an unbelievably overblown bad rap. Like this as a solo guy is still good. Like knockoff plus rocks that can always get it up and always does something and with T Wave
it
is
has
good.
insane stats and an insane move pool.
Like
It
anybody
has
who's told you, like if you're watching this video and they've told you Tyranitar is not good, that's not true. It is. It can definitely do even off sand. I think you could use this on a regular
and
team and it would be fine
also, people don't believe this because a lot of times it goes undrafted. With Sand, Excadrill probably is a top 10 Terra captain. He's
for
really
sure.
good. Me
For
and Za
sure.
both think he's really good. And a
Yeah.
lot of times people just don't, because some seasons there's just people who don't want to run Sand. I think almost always, in my opinion, there should be someone late in a draft who leverages. If they want to win, there should be someone late in a draft who leverages Sand.
For sure.
Who
You just gotta
because
and this one's actually like I said because you have the
be-
breaker for the Excadrill. It works. Just try to do something with these Hoopa on. All the other guys are actually like not that bad, but the Hoopa Unbound points you need more like utility on
yeah
this team because you got offense and you
yeah
need unless you're I would prefer your special breaker wasn't the hoop unbound because you really need the Terra on it to be a thing because you have like
no
no special attack.
the
So maybe that's what
the
you
special
need.
breaker is Sinistra and Manaphy and Hatterene.
Hatterene can do it. Hatterene can do it.
And Torn to be honest. I would say Hoopa Bound becomes a spiker, Sinistra gets Terra. Uh this team would greatly benefit from a spiker because getting spikes up really helps Excadrill in the end game. Because Excadrill does like at +2, Excadrill has a lot of things where its Terra Blast does like 80 something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure.
Like
Yeah, for sure.
where it's EQ and its Terra Blast do like 80 something damage, 80 something percent. Uh,
You're almost always gonna be like your water on this a lot because you got to beat the ground is usually what's gonna try to check you, just a
yeah,
bulky ground. So like the spikes really help the Excadrill because you're specifically trying to hit their ground.
yeah. And like Za said, that's something that doesn't get brought up too often. Attacking the same point on an opponent team can be really, really strong because if you overwhelm, even if one Pokemon checks like theoretically all your Pokemon, this is kind of how Rain works. Even if one Pokemon theoretically checks all your Pokemon, if you just overwhelm it with like three Pokemon that are uh pretty good, uh is that Pokemon will eventually in SV's really fast metagame get completely overwhelmed and just fall over if you just throw a bunch of guys and then the third one comes out, like Extra comes out, and you just win. So like if you just keep attacking, like if for example in Rain, if someone has like a good water resist, you just throw out like your Palafin and then you throw out your uh like whatever else, and then you throw out your Barraskewda last, and because it's already weakened, it opens up the door for your Barraskewda. So like that's something that doesn't always get talked about, but throwing like stacking types or stacking guys who are theoretically uh resisted by the same like type of archetype isn't necessarily bad because you can overwhelm them as long as the guys you have are strong.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can move on. Oof. So we had Boost at an average of 10. This is a kind of odd team, I want to say. This is another team that has kind of some weird guys in here, but like a Vaporeon who I think has fallen off because I used to be a big fan of Vaporeon in an old gens in draft. I kind of used him a lot. I think he's fallen off pretty dramatically in Gen 9. Can't really keep up with the metagame anymore. But this team also has some really good Terra captains in Greninja and Annihilate. I really like those two. I think Rillaboom is very interesting on this team. It is kind of solo, I want to say. I think it could have been interesting as like a Terra captain potentially. It's not necessarily benefiting anything, but I do think Rillaboom's good enough that you don't need to do like a grassy terrain team to justify getting Rillaboom. Um, I like Iron Moth. I don't know if Iron Moth non-Terra is necessarily a amazing round 2 pick. Uh, I think Mamoswine is a Pokemon that I'm a big, big fan of. I'm of the belief that Mamoswine's a bit underrated. Magnezone is our steal. I think that's a bit tough. We have Hoodra as another steal, but I don't love that either. Hoodra, but having both together as like your as double steal kind of makes up for it. The fact that you have two. I think Comfey is a pretty decent utility Pokemon. This team's interesting. It's got a lot of really unique guys that don't always get drafted. Uh, you've got the Terra Annihilate, but you don't really have the Hazard stack to really help Annihilate out here. You've got like Toedscruel for spikes. It's like okay at that, but I think Toedscruel's like pretty genuinely awful. Um, what do you think, Za?
Uh, this is another one that just it has a lot of weird guys. I think Boost probably just likes some of these guys. Like, I don't think Magnezone isn't. If you think of it as not a type, it shouldn't be bad. Like this guy could do something for sure. He just doesn't fit on teams. That's why he doesn't get drafted. It's not that like he's actually bad. Same thing with Gudra. It's just not good. It's not. It doesn't fit a draft archetype of any sort. So it's very challenging to put this on a team because it messes up the type chart so much. Um, and then a lot of the support Pokemon, like the water, the fairy, and the steels, are very standardly below average. So it makes the team to the eye look bad. But it has functionality in a way that some of the other teams didn't. Like legitimate top speed, two things that can give you total speed control if you want it. It has priority. Rillaboom is a good standalone Pokemon. It has win cons. It's be easier for it to be a win con if it was Terra Comfey, but it has one win con, two. Greninja is a win con. Moth can be a win con. So we have like actually ways to win the game here, which is the point of Pokemon. Like types are great, speed's great, but like you got to have things that can win the game. But just the support holds this back. It's just like
Yeah,
I
I think
it can
in
work.
retro, I think in retrospect, I might put Woopers over this. I think I kind of like Woopers team a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's what I had. I had it reversed, Boost and Woopers.
Yeah, I probably had Boost a little too high because I think I had Boost at like 8 and it boosted him a bit. I think in retrospect I'd bump Boost to 11 and put Woopers at 10 or wherever we're at now.
But this can definitely do something. Like we said, it's there was a tier shift after the bottom three for a reason. Like this can do something.
Yeah,
It's just with the way the support is, and then the two best Pokemon both really want a Terra, like really want a Terra, the Annihilate and the Greninja, to get the
yeah.
full value. And the support is wonky.
I
Doesn't
will
mean it
say
can't do things.
Ape doesn't need to Terra if you have a Spiker, but because this team doesn't, other than Toadscruel, who I genuinely hate personally, uh, what's it called? That's tough for Ape because Ape can function as like a pretty stellar blocker, but if you're not taking advantage of, because even rocks wise,
But he does.
need,
He
need,
has Greninja.
even rocks wise, your rocker is Mamoswine, so it's like,
Yeah. So his
but
his his second rocker is Ape, right? So
yeah,
that's what's tough about it. The only guy that really wants to do it is Mamoswine, and he does have Spike's Greninja, but then it's
yeah, but
Spike's Greninja.
yeah, you want your Greninja. Greninja should be the main Terra Captain here. Greninja should be the main win con here. That's kind of what I originally had the team so high for, is that I think Terra Greninja is like a terroristic threat that can pretty much win any matchup, like reverse 6-0 if you have a little bit of chip on something. Although it really likes having hazards. So I wish this. My main complaint actually ends up being I wish this team had better hazards.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not a great. It's going to be tough to get things up if that's your game plan. It's going to be hard.
Because also your removal is defog because it's not Toad Scroll, so that's tough as well.
Toadscruel's carrying this team, Ben.
Yeah,
On
Toad
its
Scroll's
back.
Toad Scroll's actually all the utility, which is tough.
Lead Toadscruel every game. Trust me.
Yeah, I'll say Mandibuzz I do like. I think Mandibuzz in Gen 9 is actually kind of solid. Uh, it's a decent U-turn bot. It also has defog and it also has Toxic, which not a lot of Pokemon have left anymore.
That's a godsend for this guy. If Vaporeon had Toxic, it'd be back. It would be back.
All right, we can move on.
Yeah, we're good.
This is an odd amalgamation of Pokemon. I kind of mess with it just for being unique, for having such a unique
Yeah,
combination of Pokemon.
I think Magnezone can do something. I really do.
You never see Magnezone. You hardly see Hoodra anymore unless you're desperate. You never see Toadscruel for good reason. You never see Vaporeon. Vaporeon has like no unique sets. The unique Vaporeon set is like Acid Armor.
Yeah.
But Vaporeon gets
There's probably
Vaporeon.
some Calm Mind shit you can do from the
Yeah,
mid game against
the,
like a
the
bad
unique
water.
the unique Vaporeon set is Calm Mind, Acid Armor, Stored Power. But Vaporeon's bad, unfortunately.
I
You don't
love
see
when Ben
Comfey.
doesn't like something. It makes me laugh.
All right. We've got okay. We're up to Big Blue.
The legend.
Number 9, Blue Fusion.
All right, we're up to Blue Fusion. I think we take another. I think maybe Boost and Woopers are kind of in a category, like in a tier of their own, and we kind of take another mini jump in quality here, so to speak. And I think this team is pretty okay. Um, I'll say that much. I think this team's pretty okay. Like I said, I actually think there's a pretty good amount of like pretty good teams this season. I like Terra Raging Bolt. I mean, this is the first season we've allowed Terra Raging Bolt, so you're getting, you know, a real round one Pokemon, which a lot of the teams beforehand didn't necessarily have. That's another reason I had Boost decently high, is that he had a real round one Pokemon in Terra Gran. in my opinion. Um, me and Za are both higher on Palafin than the wider draft community, and in PBO, Palafin has historically done very good. So I'm high on the pick two Palafin. I think Sneasler makes a lot of sense on this team too, because in round three, all the good speed is just completely gone. I think my DGBA team had Terra, Bolt, Palafin plus Sneasler on it. So this team would have obviously been designated a Rillaboom team. I'm sure that was something he was thinking of when he was making it before the Rillaboom got taken by Boost, as we just saw in like round three. Um, this team also has a Chi-Yu, which I think is actually pretty nice. I think having that really strong special breaker there, I actually kind of like really mess with that idea, that identity on this team, because you have Palfin and Steesler, and then Raging Bolt's like a special breaker, but it kind of wants to set up, and it's also a bit slower. Having a like Chiyu's not like blazingly fast, but it's base 100. That's not horrible. Having that somewhat faster breaker on the special side along with it is pretty nice. Skarmory as a Terra captain is interesting. I imagine it's never going to Terra unless Blue Fusion gets in like a pinch, or if he's super baller, if he brings like Swords Dance, Weak Armor 1 week. Um, but it's a decently solid spiker. I'm guessing all the steals were gone at this point. Skarmory's like in that tier of steals that's just below the like triple steel psychic plus scissor kind of 13 to 14 list that is in every single draft board in SV. And if you don't get a steal by then, you're kind of on a copium steal. But Skarmory's one of the better of the copium steals in my opinion. Probably him and Tikaton are like decently solid. Sylveon's okay Pokemon. It's pretty bad, but not bad in that it can't do anything. It can do stuff. If you're like specs, if you're offensive, I've seen it do stuff. You can get one Calm Mind and start doing some real damage. Sarina is a really poor spinner, but I understand why you need it here because you need to threaten some kind of removal. Um, but unfortunately, Sarina doesn't really threaten ghosts at all. The knock is pretty pathetic on the ghosts that exist, and the ghosts that exist also outspeed it. Swampert's a really solid Pokemon. It's a good flipper. It's a nice ground to get this late. I like that pickup. Serp with Terra can also be threatening. I've seen this guy consistently do something in SV, which is really nice. The Glare set's annoying, Leech Seed's annoying. Just Terraing, like at pretty much anything. Terra Fire set. I've seen good players fall to Terra Serp. It's like not fake. It's like it like actually does stuff. And then I get why Vulpix here because technically there is a Sun Angle with like Raging Bolt and Chi-Yu. So that's kind of fun. What do you think, Za?
Yeah, it's an interesting team. I wish Blue Fusion would have taken Weavile instead. He just didn't want to instead of Sneasler.
Yeah,
Um,
that probably would have been better.
but other than that, like I think Chi-Yu uh, everywhere, but even here, like this has fallen too low now. This is one of the better, just like not with Terra, but just for the points it is, the level of special breaking and like a Scarf specs, it's set up, it can sub, it's got flame charge. Like I think this guy is like gone around the other end to where now it's been overkill that it's not actually good, which it is. Um, Sylveon's like a decent win con that if the other team doesn't account for it at all, can pretty easily sweep people. If you just like don't, it's decent AV. It's decent with specs, like Ben said. I don't think Sarina is that bad because like the base power, it's not gonna beat like the two best ghosts, like we talked about earlier, Petront or Big Man. Although Triple Act, like it has decent stats and it has high base power moves, and it's not walled by flyings or steals. So like I genuinely don't think this guy is that bad. I wouldn't want to use it, but I still I still don't think it's that bad. And I think Swampert's really bad if it's the water, but here it's going to be the ground and like the emergency water. So I actually think this guy might do something. Um, the team just like so when I was looking at it, the biggest issue this team is going to have is it gets wrecked by Terra Ghost and Terra Fairy like really badly.
Yeah, there is no answer to the ghost other than you, but you don't want you switching in.
Yeah, so he's gonna have to, and I mean, he has a really designated Terra that can be any type and be a wall while still being a breaker and bolt. So, like, but that's in my mind, that's one of the biggest things holding this back is like the my num. I try to like, it's not like there are good ghosts in the format. Like, we don't have Dragapult or Spectre, but that's like the best Terra type, that and Fairy. So you really don't want to be weak to Terra Fairy and Terra Ghost because that's what you're going to see 70% of the time anyway. And like he doesn't have a functional poison in the sense of it doing the only thing it really does. And then Skarmory's fine, but like that's your physical wall, and almost all fairies are special. So that's what I think is going to be the issue. But past that, I think if this team's attacking, I think this one is the first one that has the potential to like really overperform expectations based on the team and not just like Boost's team does well because he's good. This team could just be good because of the team if it's like attacking.
Yeah, I will say, it's gonna Serena's really important here because when I had Bolt, Palafin, Sneasler, I hated hazards. Like I literally almost every game I lost, like three of the games I lost were solely because I got hazard stacked, and it's because my spinner was a low tier, and those guys hate hazards. Bolt, Palafin, Sneasler. So you're gonna have to play Serena really smart to get the hazards away.
To
Uh,
be fair though, like even to you, how could you get those three guys and have a good spinner? Like how would that even happen?
it would have to be like Cyclizar. It has to
Yeah.
be like Psych. Um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think Serena is kind of the break point because you really don't like you can run Boots Palafin, but you really don't want to.
No,
You
you can't.
can run Boots Bolt, but you really don't want to.
No.
You can run Boots Chiyu, but you really don't want to.
Yeah,
That one
he's not
less
gonna be
so,
good.
but
You could do boots. I still wouldn't want to run boots to you, but because it has
yeah,
flame charge, like you could do something with that. I don't think I've ever used boots Palafin in my life.
yeah, it's like really. I think I've run Boots sub once, but Boots on any of these guys is basically like coping that you have
For
Serena.
sure.
So
At
yeah,
that
that
point,
you
just don't switch. Just attack.
yeah. So it's like I think the make or break point is going to be Serena, and unfortunately, I think it might break, but we'll see. We can move on.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Found him. Found him.
All right, we've got Dr. Riz and the Philadelphia Flygons.
Why does
Let
the
me update
Mew
his
picture look
terrace
so goofy?
because it says
Why does the Mew
modern.
picture does anybody else think that Mew picture looks really unusually goofy with the eyes?
The
It's
terror,
really
yeah,
big.
the music. It's because he's just floating there.
I got
Yeah,
terrace.
the terrors aren't here, but just
It's
I
you
got
know
you.
Mew.
the important one the important one's Mew. Just
It's
so the
Mew,
viewers know.
Petulant, and is it Conkeldurr? I think it's
Levani.
Conkeldurr.
It's
No,
Oh,
it's
it's
hanging
something else.
Levani.
on the dock.
Conk doesn't need Terra. He's fine.
Yeah, this will be fun.
It does greatly appreciate it, but it doesn't need it.
Is
Um,
so it's not Orgerpon C either? I don't
no,
remember.
no,
Oh, it
it's
is
not.
Levani? Okay.
It's the important one's Mew. That's what it needed to be. So this team I quite like. This team is an example of having a lot of just really solid guys. Darkrai is my least favorite Pokemon in draft, but it's not because it's bad. Because a lot of times I say I don't like someone because they're bad. Darkrai is a terrorist. It's a terroristic Pokemon. It's a really solid round one pick because of its speed tier and also because draft leagues allow hypnosis, which is a really stupid move that basically auto wins some matchups if you hit it. So you can kind of count on getting a some wins with a team if you have Darkrai, just because you can roll the dice with like, regardless of skill, regardless of anything else, you can roll the dice with Hypnosis and figure it out essentially. Because Darkrai has the coverage to hit pretty much everything neutrally. So if you can hit everything neutrally with like 2 moves, which is Dark Fighting, and then put them to sleep and also take away 12% of their health every turn by putting them to sleep, and then also set up while they're asleep, it kind of becomes problematic, I guess is the word I'll use. Uh, Cancer, if I could get more extreme, cancerous to the metagame. I really hate Darkrai. I think that guy is a bit unfair. I know some leagues are straight up banning Hypnosis now because of it, because it's so annoying to fight. Landorus Incarnate is a pretty solid Pokemon. I don't know if it's someone that I would pick up round 2, but I do get it. It's probably because a lot of the, like on the wheel back round 2, because I imagine to get Darkrai, he probably had to be like, what, 6th pick or something, 6th or 7th?
I think
It's fourth. He's fourth.
Yeah,
fourth.
fourth. Yes, it's something like that makes sense. I imagine like on the wheel back for round 2, all the, because Landorus Incarnate's kind of like the last line of defense in SV of like usable ground, like really
Real guy that
solid
you want.
grounds. Really, you want this as your ground type. And if you don't have them, you're kind of cooked. So I get why it's taken here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I would
Patch,
have, if he hadn't have taken that, I would have. So he made
yeah.
the correct pull.
Pecharunt's also a really good Pokemon. Pecharunt consistently now always goes like early round 3. By the way, you know, back in season, what was it, 5 when this guy came out? Season 5 of PBO, this guy came out. I said this guy was Himothy, and I got flamed for it. He's going round 3 now.
Some people still don't
always
believe you,
do.
too. Some people still don't believe it.
I've always said that Petch is that guy. Petch, no, Petch is like the one of the GOAT pivots now. He's just unbelievable pivot. He's like if Blissey could do real damage, like had a better typing, like a more roll compressed type for draft, and was physical instead. He can like blank so many physical attackers, almost all of them. And his poisons are just so annoying. So Patch is really good. Having Terra on it kind of helps the offensive sets more so than anything, the like nasty plot stuff. Cornerstone's really nice. It's one of the best spikers out there, and having Patch to block so that your spikes stay up is good. And keeping those spikes up is really good for Mew, who's a setup threat with Terra. So like you get the spikes with Corner Pawn, you block with Patch, and then you set up with like Rye or Mew. Rye is also one of the best Scarfers if you want to have like total speed control. And Mew is almost always a setup Pokemon if you want to get like real value out of it for being Terra. Kyurem is also a really solid like Scarfer or Spexer. Also a decent DD user if you want. I think Kyurem, because sometimes it doesn't even go drafted. I think Kyurem's kind of underutilized. I think that guy's really strong. Takes a lot of people don't like it. It takes a bit of a positioning
Tact.
to use it. Yeah,
It's
tact
hard.
to use
It's
it.
not easy to use. It's not easy to use.
Takes a bit of positioning, but Kyurem's really solid. I will say in Nat decks it takes no tact because you can run roost.
No, then he's the guy. Yeah.
Then in Nat decks he gets roost, and his stat block is just so insane that
Yeah.
the tact goes out of the window.
He's too good.
Conk, really solid Pokemon.
Legend.
One really good AV user, just so naturally strong with priority, and Drain Punch being such a stupid move that like you do 50% and also heal 30% of your own HP so you never die. Your spinner being Fortress. Unfortunate. Really unfortunate. This is gonna be what? Season 4 of Ben saying Fortress sucks. Fortress is a really horrible Pokemon. It sucks to have as your steel and your spinner. It's a really non-functional steel. It can rapid spin, Like I've seen it do it.
That one
But
time.
yeah,
That one time.
Always
but
had its moment once a season.
any ghost can come in on it. I mean, you can steel beam and kill yourself and do like 40% maybe. Unless it's gold, then you're really fucked. Alomomola. So like I know. Olomomola is such a weird Pokemon because I've seen really, really high level players do stuff with it, but I've also seen like mid level players fall into the trap of using it and getting absolutely owned because of it. So my opinion continues to waver back and forth. I think if you're smart with it, Alomomola can be a valuable Pokemon to have on a draft team because it can be utilized as a pivot Pokemon and an okay AV user that can get in stronger guys like Darkrai, like Kyurem, for example, here, like Landorus potentially. Be very, very careful. Do not waste turns with Alomomola or it will get ugly quickly. Um, but I don't think it's so useless that it's undraftable. I think there is there is value to an Alomomola. And then Leavanny, I get why it's here. It has webs, and Petrarch can block the webs. Petch, in my opinion, is the GOAT blocker because of its speed tier and the fact that it has recover and the fact that it's so fat. So I get why you want to potentially have a webs user here to help out Landorus and Kyurem and like have Ryan not have to be Scarf and outspeed their Scarfer potentially maybe. What do you think, Za?
So this is definitely the best team yet. I think. I don't know how the rankings reacted, but when I see it on the page, at least from an offensive perspective, because like Ben talked about with if you have a team with Landorus, Ogerpon, and Kyurem and Petron, like you better have a webs user. Like why else would you like? There's nothing else to do with that combination of Pokemon, right? Those are like three of the biggest payoffs for having those things. Um, I think he made the right choice. I think even if you don't like Darkrai, which I don't. Yeah, if he hits the hypnosis, he's the best Pokemon in the game, right? But like, I would prefer not to play that way. But I think he ended up with a slightly better team because he didn't pick like Zarude there, as we're gonna see. It like
That's why that's why I hate it so much because I also prefer not to play that way, but a lot of people do, and you fight
yeah.
them, and then it happens to you, and he is the best guy in the game when it hits, and I've had it hit on me a lot, and it's just he's so annoying. He's such an unbelievably annoying menace.
So Ben talked about like the good things about the team. So one thing I'll say, like Fortress is decent on offense. It can do two things. It's got a really good lead set because it has built-in focus sash, which is pretty decent on offense. And if you just do the same thing Alomomola does and you switch it in to take a hit and then pivot out, it's just like worse Alomomola. It's really bad at what people try to use it for, but it can do things.
It can't wall at all. Don't use it to
No,
wall
no,
anything.
don't try to do that. It's very similar to a Alomomola. You either use this as the hazard setter and you get the fuck out, or you do what Mola does. You switch in, click one button, and get out. Saying everybody knows like I'm famously the anti Alomomola guy. I think if you use this against somebody better than you are, you're gonna get destroyed. If you're the better player, then I think Alomomola works. And I think that's commensurate with what Ben has said that he has observed. If you're not sure what to do with this guy, just run AV or boots or helmet and just click flip turn every single time. And nothing that bad will probably happen to you. You just have to have some way to play around the subs.
Yeah, click flip or potentially healing wish and kill yourself.
Yeah, so you
One
have
of the
that
two.
option too. You have that, or the mirror code thing does work a lot of times because there's not always actually a way to play around it. So, Conk is like one of the best value Pokemon because it beats. He has one of the guys that it beats, which lowers its value a little bit. But Conkeldur's really good against top tier Pokemon in the Scarlet and Violet decks. And actually, the two top tiers it's not good against, we banned. So, he actually has a great matchup against all of the round one picks that are not Terras. But yeah, this team it's relying a lot on stats rather than typing because like I don't remember what the type chart for this team is, but I have seen it because like I help Philly with stuff, and it's definitely not good. So
Yeah,
you're relying a lot on just stats of Petron and Alomomola to do things, and like the
for
pro I think the
for
tear on Petron helps with this because like the difference between like Ben mentioned physical Blissey. The problem with this guy is that he doesn't only have one weakness like Blissey does, which has no special attacks. So like if you have a strong ground attacker, it can just break through that. So that's the tear on that might actually matter for him because his defensive profile is going to be like bad against things that already have moves to hit Petron.
depends on the
And then we
ground.
yeah
It beats like Great Tusk, for example, because it outspeeds Great Tusk. It loses to like the number one Petch op is Treads. Treads is tough for Petch.
yeah
Um,
there's a few things, and then it's because like I mentioned earlier, everything's Terra Ghost. Like as bulky as it is, if you get an SD up with something like Zarude or so, like one of these Terra
yeah,
captains, it has the issue of coming in and taking one hit, and if it's like Terra Steel setup with with a coverage move, then it becomes fodder. So as long as we stay away from those things, then it's effective, right? So that's what my only concern about this is if this team is attacking, like we said about Blue Fusion's team, which I think is the barrier between these and the top teams. If these teams are attacking, they're in great shape. If these teams get behind, then we got to rely on hypnosis. Like that's
yeah,
where we're at here.
yeah. The inflection point of the team, the crux of the issues, like you mentioned the type chart. It's because Fortress is the steel, because steel is such an important type, and
Yeah.
Fortress is the steel. That's the real issue here, because steel resists so many important types, and having your one steel type be a Pokemon that realistically should probably come to like 2 games max. Like especially if you look at the quality of the top 8 guys, realistically Fortress should be coming to like 2 games, right? Which means you effectively don't have a steal. It should come to two, hopefully like max 3 or 4, which means you're probably gonna have to Terra Steel a good amount of the time,
Oh, and there's no fairy.
which is fine. I've moved to uh, fairy being non-required in SV because there's only like 3 good ones, so why
That is
bother?
true.
I've moved to fairy being a secondary type requirement. It's nice to have, but not necessary. We can move on.
Yeah, we're good here.
All right, we have G-Shar and the Jirachi All-Stars. This team is, I want to say, really fundamentally all right. I don't want to say good. Fundamentally all right is how I would put it. I like Zarude as a Terra captain, as a round one Terra captain in this format that we have here with this slightly dampened draft board. I think getting Dio Speed that late round two, especially considering the draft board, is a really nice value. I really like that, and I like what Dio Speed can do specifically for Zarude. I think those two, like I've seen those two before in like standard, like really standard play. It's like kind of a known, pretty decent combination. From what I know. Heatran, a Pokemon that I'm a big fan of. Worse without Terra, but still usable, I think, especially offensively. Offensively, still very usable.
Got to be
Washtum,
offensive. Got to be offensive with Heatran.
yeah, Washtum. Um, I think we nuked its points this season, from what I
Yeah, it's
remember.
low.
It's low.
It-
It's like
it's
11 or 10. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really low points wise, which makes it excellent value. Because Washington has a very good history of success in PBO. It's still a really solid pivot Pokemon. Um, I think you probably want a second water with Washington, which we don't have, unfortunately. But it's still a really solid Pokemon. Donphan, Donphan's like a tier 2 spinner. but it's still a spinner, and it's still like I love Donphan. Donphan's like we've talked before about Mudsdale and how I hate Mudsdale. I love Donphan. It's a complete 180. I've used Donphan like 3 or 4 times now, and every time Donphan trades, man. Donphan's strong as hell. People
Donphan's
don't.
not that bad. People are just saying shit. There's no logic or explanation for that. It's really not bad.
Donphan has the legendary ground ice coverage that
Yeah.
like hits everything. It hits every single Pokemon for at least neutral. A lot of times for super effective. It also has knock. It also has ice shard. It gets gunk too, and you can like calc it to outspeed other walls with +1 speed and stuff like that because of the
Yeah,
rapid spins.
he's got a lot of moves. Imagine Tusk had Ice Shard.
It gets like
That'd
every
be
move you would.
crazy.
Yeah, it gets like every move you would
It
want it
does
to
Seed
get. I feel.
Bomb. It has Seed
Yeah,
Bomb. It's got a bunch of random shit. It's got Encore. It's got a
yeah.
bunch of random shit.
So like people always say, "Oh, Donphan, it dies in like 4 hits or whatever. Like it only stays on the field for like 3 turns."
That's all you need.
Who cares? These games
Yeah.
last. These SV games last 15 turns as is. Um, Terra Raikou. We saw a few seasons ago what Boost did with Terra Raikou. Raikou has like deceptive bulk.
Yeah.
It's like very fat. So you can kind of tear it into water or like fairy, for example, and calm mind, and it kind of becomes really, really scary. Screamtail, I think so. You can get really creative with Screamtail as a Pokemon. It's a fairy, so like I get why it's here, and it's a decent utility Pokemon in my opinion. I don't really know who you're passing wishes to. I guess like Heatran and Zarude and stuff. That's like all right, but uh, Screamtail, I just don't be too passive with it. The setup sets are actually kind of good. The setup sets are kind of unique, and like the bulk up. I've seen bulk up do some really interesting stuff. The calm minds shenanigans are kind of cool. If you get too passive with it, Scrimtail can kind of be a piece of shit. So you got to be careful with it.
Yeah.
Jogalgi, super solid low tier. I think Jogalgi's really nice. I think Jogalgi's actually like low key kind of a really nice Pokemon. When a solid like if you don't have a dragon yet and you don't have a poison yet, I like picking up Jogalgi near the end of a draft. Malamar, super troll, really trash Pokemon. If I'm being
He's
honest,
so bad.
Zaz, the New York Malamars, and he dropped it.
He's
It's
so bad.
so
It's the only guy I've ever dropped in drafts ever.
he
The only guy.
it's so terrible. It's Terra here. You're never gonna Terra it over Zarude. Like in your dreams, you're Terraing it over Zarude, and without Terra, it's even worse. And if you do Terra, it's gonna be Terra fighting, which is like Uh, Gyapdos is okay. It's an alright Pokemon. It's a good Scarfer. If the opponent's team is really slow, you could run like Band, but it's Scarf like what 70% of the time. I want to say like something insane. People love Scarf's Gyapdos. It's popular in PBO. I think it's like an okay Pokemon. I'm not like super high on it, but I'm not like low on it either. It's like such a standard close combat Brave Bird U-turn knock like uncreative just slot in guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think, Za, of the team overall?
I will say, Rich, now that I'm seeing them on the screen, I think I should have put Philly over Jirachi All-Stars. I'm not really sure why I didn't. I think I could just this has more traditionally good guys, but also a lot of guys. This is a very Jacharish team. Like this just seems like guys he would pick. Um, Obviously Zaru's probably better in 8mon, but still like if you have this guy, it's kind of like the Apple thing. This always has a set that wins. Always in every game. If you just get like minimal chip on something or you bring the right combination of 4 moves, which is incredible when you think about it, this guy literally has no ability. If he had any ability, this guy would be fucking crazy. So I think Dio speed, like I've used this. If you keep it to like doing attacks, it's really good. But don't you? I mean, just I've talked about this with Jachar and like he knows, but like don't run screens on your second round pick every week. Like just don't do that. You could have gotten anyone to do that. But yeah, it's just a bunch of solid guys, really. Like does he kind of the spiker is Dio speed, which I mean it's fine. Like Zaru doesn't like
Geospeed's
benefit from that, so
yeah,
he's probably fine.
Geospeed is a solid spiker. I'll say
Yeah, he's
that.
fine. Like I just think on this team, he does. It's not like he has a shit ton of offense here, because Zaruda's set up. If he runs the offensive sets, is a very good special breaker, but people don't usually do that. And besides that, like Donphan has higher attack than people I think remember. Washam can be set up, but that's not probably not what he's gonna do. Zapdos is kind of like classic Scarf. Yeah, it is a good band Pokemon, but he really needs that to be the Scarf
Yeah,
Pokemon.
his immediate pressure is a little low. I'll say
Yeah.
that his immediate damage pressure.
And so I feel like then it might help him because it'll make him run Dio Speed as Nasty Plot Life Orb or Specs into a No Dark team. Raikou, I think I say it every time we do this, and Ben said it like Raikou traditionally was a special wall. Like back in my day, this guy was a special wall. He has really bulky stats. So and he has the coverage in the kit naturally to where you don't have to fire the Terra and run Terra Blast Ice like you could run Terra Blast Fairy if you need to, but it already has Scald and T-Bolt in the kit and Aura Sphere. Like it can beat most things without needing to Terra even if you bring it in the game, which is a big benefit to Zarude because you want to have these secondary Terra Captains, especially if they are set up. If they don't need to run Terra Blast, that's a huge benefit to Zarude because then if you see the game with Raikou, you can go for it if you have it, but you don't need to Terra to know if you can get game, which I think is a big benefit to it. I do feel like this team might just come up a little bit short a lot of the time. I don't think there's enough damage. I would want more damage, and then you clean up with Zarude at the end of the game. So I would have gotten more, just as like a name. I would have gotten like an Iron Hands or something here, like Heat Ranish guy, just like that type of guy, big bulky stat thing, but that does damage, rather than like a lot. There's a lot of function here, but Zarude is mostly a setup guy. I think would do more with chip rather than switching around a lot because I don't see how that really benefits your win con here. But it's a bunch of good guys, so like if you have a good build, you'll have a chance to win every game.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you build correctly, this team can do some really good things, some really big damage. All right, we can move on to the next gamer. We've got Metal of the Hallownest Heracross with his namesake at the end of his team there. So this is a pretty cool team, I'd say. Kind of has some not necessarily out there guys, just guys you don't always see traditionally, but can still put in some level of work. I like Enam as a Terra Captain. I think it's a Pokemon that is like a tier 2 Terra Captain. It's not as good as like the best of the best, but at the same time, it puts on a ton of pressure. It really doesn't have great switch-ins. Its Stellar set it's like the only Pokemon that benefits from Stellar other than like Serp, I guess, but it's the main one.
And
So
Malamar.
like yeah, so that set's like really killer for it. It also can just Terra Fairy against teams that don't really have great Fairy resist, which is a lot of them. Um, Treads, the goat roll compressor. I'll never say no to a Treads. It just does everything you want it to do as a ground, as a steel, as a spinner, as a knocker. It can do all of that, and it can also be offensively very strong, thanks to booster attack if you needed it to. Teal, that guy's trash, but you know what can you do? We've talked about it before. Um, Tinkaton, I'm a big okay, because like I'm a big okay on Tinkaton. You know, because I know a ton of people who just love this guy, like they can't get enough of it. And to me, I don't hate Tinkaton, but a lot of the time it just does its job. Like it does like 70% of its job. It does okay. It can get rocks. It can like get an encore off maybe. It can throw off one gigaton, maybe a play rough. It can maybe get one knock. Not all in one game, obviously, if you got all that off in one game. But like I'm just saying, in a game, it's like what people say of Donphan, in that like this guy gets like 4 or 5 turns max, and then it's done. That's what I think of Tinkaton. But it's not nearly as strong as Donphan, so it doesn't have the upside of potentially killing something. But I get why Tinkaton's popular. It's a really nice utility piece. I wish with Tinkaton, I guess because you have Enam, you don't need another steel. You just use it as a steel rather than a fairy, and you're fine. Non-Terra Hydreigon, it's not a bad Pokemon. It just doesn't do anything for me. It's all right in my opinion. Same with Salazzle, if I'm being honest. It's not a bad Pokemon, but it doesn't do anything for me. And me and Za have used Salazzle before, and it was trash, booty
Okay.
cheeks, atrocious.
That was Ubers, to be fair to Mr.
Yeah, that was Ubers. I think in regular, it's still bad, but it can
Probably
do
not
stuff.
good, yeah. It's probably
If your opponent's really not that good, Salazzle can 1v6, which is very funny. I've seen it. I've seen it do stuff.
yeah.
Like I've seen like toxic spike shenanigans with Salazzle. It's not a horrible Pokemon by any means. It's just I also don't know why we have it when we manage to get the because usually you pick Salazzle up as like a copium poison. I find a lot of the time, and like a copium poison plus speed tier, but you don't need the speed tier unless I'm missing something.
Without
Actually, you
Orgerpon's
kind of
Terra.
do.
Yeah, without Orgerpon's Terra, he has no fast guy at all.
No, it is the copium speed tier here, isn't it?
It's the top
That's
speed.
tough. This team's slow. We're looking at he pivoted to kind of a trick room angle at the end after realizing the team's slow. It looks like with Uxie Ursaluna. Ursaluna, I wish it was Terra, but I do like that guy. Because it's not the solo ground here, so that's helpful. I will say Tinkaton being your rocker is nice for Treads, because Treads really doesn't like to have rocks unless its main role on the team is utility, which here it can be that, but I actually think it kind of wants, considering the attacking prowess of the team as a whole, I think it kind of wants to be able to be an attacker, and having Tink be the rocker is nice.
Yeah,
Quillfish,
Hydreigon does too now, right? Hydreigon's
it does have rocks. It has it.
That guy can do that. Probably do
Quillfish, one of the goats of
he's got
low tier.
Uxie too. He's got
Yeah.
Uxie too.
Oh yeah, and he has Uxie, so he's got some solid rockers now. And Treads doesn't have to do it, which is my main point. Is I don't want Treads to be clicking rocks. I want Treads to be clicking moves. Terra Gyarados is interesting. I want to see this explored because Gyarados continues to go down and down in points, and I actually just low-key think it's probably not that bad. I think Terra Gyarados is probably pretty strong, and it just hasn't been used in PBO, so people don't think it's that strong. But I think there's probably like a week or two where if you bring the right Terra and you just click DD once, Gyarados gets like 3 or 4 kills. Because it has pretty good stats, and it has a pretty good move pool. I will say, unlike the ZA metagame now, this guy doesn't have whip back, I believe, in SV.
Whip.
No whip. It really needs whip, and it doesn't have it. So you if you want to hit the ghosts, you got, or I mean the waters, you got it electric probably, electric or grass, but probably electric. Quillfish is like one of the goat point compressors in that it's a low tier with intimidate and spikes and flip turn and a water, and it's a grounded poison. So it does all of that for a very, very low price, which is really, really nice. So like you can, and it does it functionally, which is all that's really nice because you don't feel bad about bringing Quillfish on a week because it can do something, because it can poison stuff and also get hazards up. So I really like having that guy here. And Heracross is the mascot pick. I think Heracross is a bit underexplored, but I could definitely see its strength. So overall, this team has some like really good guys like Enam and Treads, and like I think Tinkaton's pretty valuable and Quillfish. And I like the Uxie Ursaluna angle, and I even like the Gyarados. But it also has like some guys like Hydreigon and Salazzle and Heracross. I don't know if they're like necessarily the um you know they're unique picks. They're not necessarily the most unanimously agreed upon like great Pokemon. Especially like Hydreigon without Terra, I think is just like it's a good Scarfer, but I don't think it does anything like super fantastically well. And then Teal, just me personally, and I think Za agrees too, a very limited Terra captain and also a good amount of points to Terra it. And we should probably be tearing an Enam like at least 6 out of 8 weeks. So what do you think, Za?
So I think I had this one higher than Ben when I was going through the teams, and like my approach usually is okay, what are my good sets against this? And like what's the easiest way to exploit this? And there's not really that easy of a way to attack this that you can just steamroll over it. Which is the first team you could say that about. That I was like, okay, I gotta mark a check for this. I don't have just one guy that beats this whole team. The big issue, like Ben said, is so Salazzle's the fastest guy. If you're not using the Orgerpon Terra, you have like then your 110 guy also can't be Scarf, right? So then you're, I mean, a Nam is a classic Scarfmon, but if you're not firing the Terra on the Orgerpon, you have very little speed control. And then if you are firing the Terra on the Orgerpon 4 weeks, you're not firing the Terra on the Enam, which you picked it in the first round. So that's really the big issue with the team. I agree, Gyarados can definitely do something. Like, same way, like, that we have Lando T is 1 point. Like, just Terra flying is really strong. Like once it's in, especially on a setup mon, like that's really you have EQ on the set. You just run Terra Blast flying and EQ. Like that's definitely good. Um, Ursaluna's the downside of both Lunas is they don't have rocks. If they had that, they would both be up in that tier with the Landos and such, right? So the fact he has four other rockers makes this viable. And then if you're gonna have an Ursaluna on your team, you should have a Trick Room package, which he does have. So the strength of this team is it has a lot of usable guys that all do something different that can be tailor made to the week. Um, so that's why I had this a little bit higher is that it doesn't just get steamrolled by specific Terra types. It doesn't get steamrolled just by setup because it has multiple Encore users phasing, just more stats. Um, so I foresee this is more likely to not do poorly than anything that we've seen yet, even if its ceiling might not be as high. I think this has like a floor of being in the playoffs. Like I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I think the top is strong and the bottom is really strong. Too strong to not make playoffs for sure. I think people will be surprised by how good the Ursaluna does.
Yeah, Ursaluna's good. If it's just attacking, it's like you gotta have the Trick Room mode and you just use it for stats.
Yeah, that guy's in. All right, moving on. I think we're on to number 5 now. And this team ranked at 5, and that is Mary of the Luscious Lopunnies name. The current champion, I believe, correct?
Current
Yes,
champ.
The current champion. So, I helped Mary with this team a bit. And basically, what I told her was in round 2, because she asked me what to get with Great Tusk after she got the Tusk. I said, get something fast because any good speed options aren't going to be there. And I looked at the board and I was like, wow, they're all already gone. So get bundle. And then I was like, get a good Terra Captain round 3. And we got Terra Iron Crown, which I think is a very good option. It's a really, really nice setup Pokemon. It's very, very threatening. And because we had Terra Crown, we got another Steel and also a Steel that enables setup in Klefki. So Klefki can set screens. It's also another Steel. It can also get spikes for Crown. The Tusk here is also Terra, and that's not on the dock, but the Tusk is Terra here. And then we also got something we kind of talked about since round 2, which was Terra Salamence, because I think Terra Salamence is vastly underrated and can really just win games. Uh, so a lot of points are put into Terra here, but I think it resulted in. I want to look again, but I think probably the best 3 Terra captains on a team. I think the Terra captains on this team are unbelievably strong. In Salamence, Iron Crown, and Great Tusk, the power, like having to prep for those 3, the power level, the threatening level of having to see those 3 across your screen, any of them could Terra at any point and try and sweep you with some sort of setup set. And Klefki is there to get screens and spikes to support them. I think all of that makes sense. Hisuian Samurott is also there to potentially get spikes to help those guys. Alolan Muck, just a really solid poison dark Pokemon. It is grounded. It's a poison. It can do stuff. Rotom Heat, really shit defensively. Offensively, if you're like Scarf or something, Rotom Heat can do something. Arboliva, nice ground resist. Can also take on ghosts if need be. Arboliva actually just has kind of, even without Terra, with Terra, Arboliva is way better, but even without Terra, Arboliva is a really annoying Pokemon that heals off so much of the damage that it takes. And then Granbull is an alright fairy type. I wish Granbull was something else. I think this Granbull could be a ghost, in my opinion. If this Granbull was a ghost, I think this team would actually be just so good. But I think the top 5 plus like Hammerot, and honestly even Muck, I like those guys so much here that I rank this team pretty highly. It averaged out to 5th. I think I put this team like 4th or something. Uh, I'm a big fan of what this
I
of what
had
this
this
is
5th.
going on.
I had this 5th.
Yeah, it averaged out to 5th. Uh,
Did you have it 3rd? No, you had it 4th. It had to have been 4th.
yeah, so it becomes 4.5, and it averaged out to 5th place total. You had the 6th. You had the
Did
6th. I had it 4th. Yeah, you had Metal ahead of this. So
Okay, so like the things that just look weird are its bundle to Salamence.
yeah, speed tier wise, that is an issue.
Yeah, I mean, you have the complete speed. So, what are bundles' advantages in this metagame? It is the ultimate speed control. Now that big man Holt is, I
Well,
mean, except for like Regieleki, but of meaningful things, this is the fastest guy, right? So you always have the speed control, which is cool. Um, this has the thing of everything, and like in retrospect, I'll agree. This is above Metal's team, but this is another one where if it's not attacking, which I mean it's Gen 9, so maybe that doesn't matter. But if this gets behind, I don't know how much this can come back because there's a lot of like just wonkiness if they're not attacking. And then like I have no problem bringing non-Terra Salamence. Like I can do the same thing without Terra a lot of times. Like we talked about some of the guys before. But the problem with having the Crown and Salamence Terra is based on the structure of the team, a lot of times you're going to want both these guys to come, which means you're running one of them in their base form, which is a fine Pokemon. But then that's 2 of your top 5 picks being guys that are just okay without the Terra, right? Um, but it's the same type of ish thing Mary always does. Like it's a setup team. It does have more immediate damage than the one we talked about 2 seasons ago because it has just I don't know why we made Tusk 1 point to Terra. Like that's just silly. Like it's just free. We're gonna see that with the Lando T Terra later. Like we need to reevaluate things that are 1 point to Terra that are already like 20-point Pokemon. Um, but yeah, I think that's the difference for me between these and I think a lot of the teams coming up is that
yeah,
it
this
does have
seems
a lot of possible variety, but then having these many except for Tusk, I'm really talking about Crown and Salamence. Having both of these high tier Terras that really benefit from this means that like if you're bringing both in the game, that's cool, but then one of them isn't going to Terra. So if you don't win with the Terramon, then you have the other one in the game, which
yeah.
could be good, could be bad. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, like,
I think the angle that's most likely, at least for most games, is that Mence will be the Terra, or at least the planned Terra, and then
Yeah.
Crown will function as a guy who could click the Terra button if need be, but won't necessarily, unless you're going into the script specifically with like booster speed Crown, because Crown functions pretty well, I want to say, as a non-Terra Pokemon.
Yeah, just as a
Like,
guy. Yeah.
and so like I think most of the time they'll go into a game with Mence as the in the mind Terra Captain, and then Crown and Tusk, which I think this is actually a scary way to play the game, and it makes it really difficult for an opponent. Crown and Tusk is opportunistic. Crown and Tusk is opportunistic Terra Pokemon is really terrifying for any
Agreed.
opponent.
Tusk, I agree with that, is absolutely crazy because then you can run the same set but just have choice band on your close combat. Crown is like it can do things, but like its setup sets like you're either set up or you're not. So that one, the Tusk one is crazy to me. That as just a secondary Terra that was free with the
What I'm
Salamence
thinking of is
in a
like,
game is a big
yeah,
deal.
what I'm thinking of is like the Specs Tachyon stuff I've seen with Iron Crown, and you're
Yeah,
just Steel,
yeah,
and
that's good. That's good.
and uh and just if you need to kill something, you just steal Tachyon, and
Yeah.
but like that's always something you could just do.
But I mean, the fact she got Samurott in like what is this, the seventh round? That's
Yeah,
ridiculous. Because
Samurai.
she needed another she needed a real water to go with the bundle, and she got like maybe the best one that could have helped the team. So it is really good.
Yeah,
Um, I just think like this
this
doesn't
is
really have
no,
it has
it's
Muck and Crown,
yeah,
right?
and like kind of heat, but heat you can't even run
Yes.
defensively.
And then
It's
if you're bringing Rotom Heat, you're bringing it.
yeah,
So
this team is full charge,
it's
like
offense.
high risk, high
It's
reward.
offense.
You're going in as hard as you can.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to make it sound like there's not bulk. Obviously, there's Great Tusk, there's Muck. You have the screens, and Mence can be a fine bulky Pokemon. Like it has really good stats, obviously, and the typing's not bad with boots. Um, I'm
Yeah, I'm
just like
gonna
that
say
speed gap is weird, and I feel like I haven't looked at the type chart, but it looks like there's probably some Terra that just wipes this in one. Like I mean a type, but I don't know what it is. I haven't looked.
yeah, I will say the Granbull I think should just be something else probably. Because I don't know what it does for the team
Yeah, because you
fully.
have a steel already, and you could just use Klefki as the fairy. So even if
Yeah,
that's what you're going for,
I think this could be like I'm looking at the board right now. This could be Driftblim. I don't hate that. Uh, I would like to have a ghost, if I'm being honest. Yeah. It could even be Bramblegast. Bramblegast is also 4 points.
the Brambler.
Yeah, it could be Bramblegast, and then Arboliva could be something else. Maybe Galvantula.
This might be Mary's best team ever, though.
Yeah, I think this is a very strong team for what Mary usually drafts. I'm especially the top 5 plus Hammerot plus Muck. Those 7,
Yeah,
I'm really
those
happy
seven.
with.
The other
I'm
three
real.
are kind of weird.
The other three are a little weird, but Heat is bringable, and I know why Heat's here. Heat, so because the reason people draft Heat in general is that it looks really nice on a type chart because it's an electric ground type or an electric fire type that's not weak to ground. So on a type chart, it only helps pretty much, other than rock, but like every team's weak to rock because there's only really 2 types that resist rock.
Yeah.
There's 3, but a lot of teams don't draft to fighting. Um,
Well, I suppose she's also thinking, like, if you Terra the Salamence, there's no ground resist on this team. Unless you're
yeah,
bringing Arboliva. There's no
that
immunity.
that's why you get Driftblim over Granbull.
Big Drift. That was
Drift
that was on my team in season 3. It was my best Pokemon in the finals, I think. Big
Driftblim's
Drift.
Driftblim's solid, dude. It's a solid Pokemon. It can be fat and it can also do the unburden shenanigans.
Yeah.
It's better with Terra, and like the fact that for some reason Driftblim's 0 Terra when like we have some guys in here who are like
We need to
why is
reevaluate,
Driftblim
like, if we even have Terra anymore, once the Champions game comes out, I think we need to reevaluate some like this, some of these things that are like free.
Yeah, everything's gonna have to be completely reevaluated because Terra is in it, but so are Mega Evolutions, and so is gonna be like Z moves and stuff. So I don't know. Are we gonna use? Yeah.
Everything's back. I don't know.
Everything's gonna be in there.
I don't know, man.
So
It's gonna be so many
it's
formats.
gonna be, I don't know how it like is every team gonna get two Terra captains, one
That's
Z
crazy.
mover, and one Mega, or like
I'm paying 80 points for fucking Gigantamax Great Tusk.
Yeah, we're banning Gigantamax, unfortunately.
These are title contenders, though. Like, I think Lopunnies is the first, like, real title contender.
Yeah, this team could win it all. I could very easily see this team winning it all. I could also see, like, because it's going to come down to which one Mary prefers to be the main Terra. I could also see it be, like, Mentz is a DD guy, and then Crown is also set up most weeks, and Crown is the main Terra recipient, and then Mentz is an opportunistic based on whether or not it gets the first DD off, and like it's in position to sweep already.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
Salamence is better when it has Terra Blast, but it doesn't need it.
Yeah, because Mentz can be like DD, Earthquake, Dragon Move, Terra Blast, and then you don't Terra to Terra Blast until you see the line.
Yeah, until
you know what I mean? Until you see the line. All right, I think we can move on to number 4. I believe that's going to be Boston. Yep. Okay, so this team's really interesting. It has some really important types and some really shitter Pokemon, which is, I think, the big downfall. That being the Steel being Bronzong, the Ghost being Banette, and I know this is going to sound so sad, and Za's not going to like it, the ground being Sandy Shocks. That's like 3 really key types to any draft in some really shit Pokemon. Sandy Shocks isn't shit, but as a ground type, it's pretty shit. I think you can agree with that, right? As like the ground on a team.
If it's supposed to take hits, yeah. It's really bad when the ground... This is honestly something I have a problem with, like Chenglu and the Ursalunas. Like, you don't want to be weak to EQ or close combat if you're the ground. Like, Chenglu can make up for it with the stats, but yeah, that's unfortunate. That's really not that great.
Yeah, so like it's kind of a prospect of the top 3 picks being non. I mean, Dark is essential, but non-traditionally essential types. Urshifu doesn't so fall in, but like Cinderace isn't like. Fire has fallen to the wayside, in my opinion, in draft in Gen 9, especially for being an essential type.
You don't need fire.
You don't need fire at all. And Terapagos isn't even like it doesn't function as a type at all, in my opinion. Like the type is irrelevant. I mean, I guess it functions as a downside in the sense that like ghosts are going to be Terapagos' main counter. But
I think it helps disincentivize Terra Ghost.
Yeah, it does help. Matter. Yeah, that is true. But in terms of like, the first hit's always going to be resisted, so your type doesn't really matter there. But it's like when you take Terapagos, you're not getting any roll compression type-wise, other than like, that ghost thing you just mentioned.
When I said that, just because I realize it might sound stupid, I don't mean defensive Terra Ghost. Obviously, you want it, but I mean offensive Terra Ghost.
Yeah. Offensive Terra Ghost, but people are still going to Terra Ghost anyways because of, like defensive utility.
Yes.
Terapagos, but Terapagos like is probably the second because he was second pick. Terapagos is the second best Pokemon we allow, so it makes sense that he got it. And then coming back around to the second pick, Terra Single Strike, I get why it's here because it hits the ghosts, right? It's a bit slow. It's a bit of a limited Pokemon. I've operated with this guy before, I'm pretty sure. I think Valiant had it at one point. I don't know if it was Terra then. But
you got the water guy.
Yeah, the water guy, yeah. They're pretty similar. I've seen the consensus of sometimes is that the water guy is actually better now, which is interesting. Um, the dark guy is good, but not outstanding. I like him, but he's like limited. You know what I mean? He's like his what he can do isn't like uh out of this world.
Yeah,
I
so
really
why
like
just because we're on the dark guy, so like I like the dark guy, and I think the big difference between him and the water one, this guy doesn't auto lose to helmet,
yeah,
which is
helmet
a
for
huge
sure.
fucking this single strike 90% of the time. Like we talk about this in these. This is just my opinion. People don't have to agree with it. Just because something has one set that it runs all the time doesn't in any way affect its value. So just keep single strike in the revenge killer role with the choice scarf like 75% of the time, then you can do the setup or ban the other 25. And it's like the best thing at what it does because it's got such a great speed for scarf and it's got such a spammable type that it's great at revenge killing and doing like at least 45 to 50 to every Pokemon that's not omega bulky. I think people they try to do too much with it instead of just doing that one thing. But that's why I like it instead of the water guy because you don't have to run pads. You can just run scarf, and it's good.
Yeah, single strike's for sure pretty good. It's just not me a me guy. Neither Urshifu is a me guy personally. It's not a guy that I'm a huge user of. I do love Fez. Fez is going, and I see this consistently. Fez is going like round 4 or 5 now because of its roll compression capacity. Um, Latios is also a bit of an underrated Pokemon in my opinion these days. A lot of people really sleep on Latios. I like Arak. Arak's pretty solid, and getting the webs for Single Strike and Terapagos can be really nice. Azumarill a pretty good Pokemon. I think Azumarill is a second water. I like. I see second water Azumarill plus. You don't need the type of Azumarill here at all. You just need it purely for its uh, role as a damage dealer, which I think is really nice. Um, Bronzong, I've because there are a lot of there are a lot of people who like Bronzong, and it has kind of turned me into because people pick Bronzong and then think they have a real Pokemon, and I need people to understand that when they pick Bronzong, they're coping, and if you pick Bronzong understanding you're coping, then I'm fine with it because it's a decent cope Pokemon, but you have to understand going into it that you're coping, in my opinion, because people think pick Bronzong and think that they're real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People think it's so good that they think that they have a real thing going on when they pick Bronzong. Bronzong loses 1v1 to I think probably 80% of Pokemon that ever existed.
That's why.
Um,
That's why you gotta run hypnosis, Ben. You gotta bring it
yeah.
out. Then you beat
Um,
everything.
yeah. So the main issue of the team is some of the key, really important types are on complete shitters, which are Shocks, Banette, and Bronzong. I will say some of these teams don't even have a ghost, like Mary just now, so at least you have a ghost in Banette. But I'm shocked that there's not a better 1 point Banette, 1 point ghost. Dracloak maybe. I think Dracloak might be better than Banette. Um, I get it's the mascot pick. That's probably why it's here, right? Uh, Shocks is your only spiker. Your hazards in general on this team are pretty weak. You have the webs Araquanid, but you're not really functioning to keep those, in my opinion, with the ghost that you have. Uh, but the team has an all right. It's got like pretty good offensive. Like the top three and Azu and to an extent Latios allow for a pretty decent offensive pressure. The defensive backbone is like a bunch of like Fez is pretty good, and then the like Zong is like below average, but it exists. It's like this. It's like at the bottom of the top tier of good teams. You know what I mean? Like he has he has good guys, but he also has some pretty clear weaknesses of like functionality wise for the team being put together. What do you think, Saw?
So I really like this team on offense. So let's talk about like what are the things that it does do. Um, I think Terapagos might be the best. Like secretly, I wanted to take Terapagos first. I think it might actually be the best Pokemon in the format. It just makes the draft so much easier when you take the fast guy first. So that's just an absolutely bullshit guy, right?
Yeah, if you didn't take Meow, you would have gotten it would have come back and you would have had to take Sneasler probably.
Yeah.
Or like Weavile.
So that's why I did that. But I love Terapagos. Um, every time I've ever like Single Strike's so easy to play with. Like it's just unbelievably easy to use, especially in a format where it's like in high tier Terra, it's much harder to just say, oh, this gets beat by Terra Fairy, because maybe, but most of the things that are going to be you can't just like Terry your Appleton Fairy like we used to do and say, oh, that beats this thing, because then you're not using it on something offensive that's better. And like we talked about, classically, it dissuades the Terra Ghost for Terapagos, which I don't think matters as much in this as it does in 8mon. But still, Cinderace is here for the speed, and then just Fire Spam is really strong. Like when you have it, you realize how strong it is. That nothing really
Yeah,
wants to stop this.
fire offensively, like fire isn't necessary, but it's really nice to have.
Yeah, especially when you combine it with an Azu, right? Like Azu's that nobody picks this thing, but it's so easy to just slap on at the end and have like a big breaker that just pisses you off when it's there. You're just like, oh, Azu's in. It doesn't care if it dies. It's just gonna keep attacking me until I kill it. Which also, so I run Sing Azu all the time, like to beat Petrarunt, which when it hits is just it. If you get mad at Hypnosis when you get hit with Sing Azumarill, that's the sauce right there. Um, and then yeah, Shocks is a defensive Pokemon. I mean, it's good. It's a good special wall. It has a good matchup against like interesting things like Torn can't really beat this because the Grass Knot doesn't do enough. It can be annoying, but it's really good on offense because nothing can really. If you want to rock with this or screen with this, you can. They can't. Nothing's really going to stop you from doing it. So that's why I don't. If you need a spike, Shocks will get a spike. If you need a screen, Shocks will get a screen. And then it has random, really good offensive matchups because if you're not playing Glyce, like it's really bad in 8mon, which I get why it gets the rap that it does. But when you're not playing Landos and Gliscor in every game, then suddenly this guy is pretty good because other grounds don't beat Shocks. He in general blows them away. So, but yeah, Ben's right that it doesn't. It like you don't want to. Your team is going to be weird if your ground is weak to ground. Like it's going to look weird no matter what you do. We always talk about every season how Latios is better than. Like I don't get why people think this isn't good. Like it's one of the best Scarfers in the game. Like in this dex, it's really good specs. The Soul Dew is a really good item, and it can get in and out. It has recovery. It has a good defensive matchup sometimes against Water Spam, which is really strong in this gen. Like if you want to run bulky Calm Mind, like it can do things. And yeah, Fez is like one of the few pivot Pokemon I think is actually good. Because the pivot gets you value and it can still be set up and be somewhat threatening, even to the things that it's supposed to stop. So, and then I like Araquanid. Like, I don't think Araquanid is just a. Because it does a lot of damage. Like we just said, Water Spam's really strong. So if you think this is just going to be a Weber, and then like you can run webs on Choice Band, you can do a lot of damage with this. So this one, I agree that the defense isn't great, but it has Terapagos to stop any sweeps, and it does have decent bulk. And then I love my Trick Room kill yourself guys and my Screen kill yourself guys. And Zong's like okay. Same thing with Zong with the hazards. It's not good, Ben's right, but again, if Bronzong wants rocks, it's gonna get it. If it doesn't get taunted,
Yeah.
like you're not gonna stop it from getting it. So, and it's just annoying. Like if you want to sweep, you have to deal with Bronzong. You have to take the gyro ball. You have to be able to take the possible hypnosis turn, like all that stupid bullshit. Like you still have to deal with it. So I like that. Like I would want to play with this team. Like I kind of like this team, but yeah, this one doesn't want to fall behind too much. But as opposed to the other ones earlier that I said that about, this one just by having Terapagos and like Fezandipiti can come back from being behind because it has the ability to reset the game, I think.
Yeah, as we will see, continue to see, being near the top of the draft, like being near the top of the draft greatly benefited with the board here, in my opinion.
For sure.
Uh,
Top two picks in this is so much. I mean, I still like Great Tusk. I think the top two picks in this were a massive advantage, but definitely the top three. definitely the top 3.
All right, I think we can move on to number 3. Someone who did not have what's it called? A top 3 pick. We have the Vancouver Valiants. So if you don't get a top 3 pick, if you get a later first round pick, I think the ideal you hope for is that Wellspring drops to you, because Wellspring is such a opportunistic Pokemon. I think so. I won't be candid about it. I essentially, I greatly helped make this team. Like I kind of decided who got drafted when. Um, uh, Wellspring. So a lot of people, like in the wider draft community, don't fully believe in Wellspring. They think, because it can only Terra Water, it's limited in what it can do. It's easier to check, but the Wellspring is such an opportunistic Pokemon because it benefits from Terra. Like even if it can only Terra into one type, because it benefits from it more greatly than any other Pokemon, because it gets a boost along with Terra and its stab move is so incredibly, unbelievably, brokenly strong. It it, it get in this board, getting it as a first rounder late is incredible value because it is on par, at least in terms of like pure damage, like opportunistic. I can sweep you very, very easily with like very little effort with like any of the other Pokemon that you could potentially get earlier. And then getting Garchomp to fall to you round 2, so you have like a top 3 ground in the metagame, while also having a Spiker, while also having, a Dragon. That's really nice, roll compression in the top 2 already. Plus, and then round 3 you get Weavile, who helps deal with the grasses that Wellspring doesn't want to deal with. Because a lot of the time people like to Terra Grass on Wellspring. That's the quote-unquote solution to it. Because of, what's it called? Because of what its stab is, what its stabs are. So having a really fast ice to deal with those guys is really nice. Same thing with Scizor, also deals with those grasses really well while still being a really solid steel type. And then you get Glamora, who kind of roll compresses as a potential hazard stacker, so Garchomp doesn't have to do it, while simultaneously having Mortal Spin to potentially get rid of hazards. You get double Healing Wish with Mesprit and EnamT, and EnamT is also a Terra Captain, so you have a secondary option over Wellspring, and the EnamT, I think EnamT, even without Terra, but especially with it, very scary Pokemon. If people don't account for it, EnamT can sweep like really, really fast. And I think as a Terra Fairy Pokemon, it's one of the best because it's pretty fat already. Its Draining Kisses start healing so much because Draining Kiss gets that buff, that base power buff from Terra Fairying. Rotom, one of the best low tiers in SV. You see this guy, especially in 8-mon, go so incredibly high. Like I've seen this guy, for example, in the FBL team tour that me and Za are both captaining in. This guy went like round 5 because round 4, round 5. This guy is killer value because it's a fast ghost that can block while also being an electric that can pivot. It can status things with Will-O-Wisp and Thunderwave, and it is a what's it called immunity, a ground immunity. It's like a whole bunch of stuff all wrapped into one for a very low price point. And then you get Mienshao as like a regen mon and also just a fighting, because honestly at this point he had every like type and every like role he necessarily needed. And Mienshao lets him do kind of some more pivoting and just more damage, and it's also another Terra Captain that can be potentially threatening. And finally, Lantern, just as a secondary water, because sometimes Wellspring likes to have that secondary water, while also covering some of the type weaknesses that the team potentially had. I think this team is like structurally really, really sound fundamentally. Maybe like some of the weaknesses, Mortal Spin as your removal isn't great, but I don't, because I've run like solo Mortal Spin as removal. It's not great. It's doable. Glamora is a Pokemon that realistically can come like 7 out of 8 weeks, maybe even every week, just because it can get hazards up, and getting the T spikes is always a pain in the ass. So like you can always have Glamora, and you can always theoretically run Mortal Spin, and Glamora hits steals. The Earth powers usually do over 50% because Glamora is so strong. So they have to like plan around that and be like Steel plus air balloon if they want to block. So like people say the mortal spin isn't real. I personally think it is. Um, Another thing you can complain about, the team's pretty physical. I think like Enam and Mesprit's also a special attacker, Rotom. I think it's like a good enough baseline, especially because I think Enam's going to be coming a lot. I think it's a good enough baseline, and also Mien Xiao actually has a pretty decent special stat. I think it's a good enough baseline that it's fine, because Glamora is also special, and like I said, Glamora is probably coming most weeks. But the top 4 picks are physical, so I could see why people would think that might be an issue, but I think it's fine in the end. What do you think, Za?
I think I had actually surprisingly had this higher than you did. I think I had this 2. This is the best Valiant team that I remember. It's much better. I think it's a good bit better than the one that he actually won with. If we were all drafting optimally, there's no way you should be able to have Water and Garchomp. Like Garchomp should probably be a first round pick with 14 people, I think.
I agree.
And I don't remember where he was, like maybe like 8th.
10. He was 10th.
10th? Okay, so yeah, there's really no possible way that this should be a thing. And then, like, I think I mentioned earlier, like, Blue Fusion picked before Valiant and really should have taken Weavile and just didn't. And so it made this team even better because, like, I mean, Sneasler would have been fine right there, and he would have been, like, forced to take it almost, but it definitely doesn't work as well as the Weavile does. I don't know that just, like, because I said this when I looked at the team, yeah, you only have Mortal Spin, but, like, is that really that much worse than just having, like, Regieleki? Like, is it actually that much worse than that? Because
it's better. It's significantly better.
That's what I'm saying. Opinion. Like, so, like, yeah, again, there's only, like, 5 actual spinners that anybody wants on their team. So if you don't have one of the, and that's really, I only want 2. Me, because, like, Ben loves treads. I don't hate it, but I don't really want to draft it. So, like, I don't see that big of a difference between having Glamora. Like, I feel like that's better than having, even though I like him, like, Cryogonal. Like,
yeah,
I would
it is.
rather have that.
Glamora's the 8th best removal in the game, I want to say. Something like that. People say it's fake. I just disagree. I think it's probably like the 8th best removal in the game.
It depends on what you compare it to. Like, I feel like a lot of the things come from this 8-mon perspective where, like, it's more realistic that everyone can have a real spinner. There's 14 guys in this draft. Like, yeah. And there's 5 guys that you want, maybe 6 that you actually want.
Like, so, we go through the spinners. Tusk, Tarop, Preds.
Yes, and then maybe you want Cyclizar or Blastoise.
Cyclizar, Donphan, Blastoise, and then I'd probably do Glamora next. If I'm being honest.
So, like, realistically, this is really not that bad. And Glamora has the coverage to hit.
Default Corv is probably above it, and then probably Glamora after that.
Yeah, but again, say you have this team, right? Like, you're running the Glamora, you didn't get it for Mortal Spin, it just worked out that way, right? So, like, you're not going to have Corviknight and Glamora. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense.
Although, also, I just looked, Scizor also does get defog. So,
yeah, Scizor has defog, yeah.
So, like, this, removal-wise, this team's fine.
Run it, but you have it. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, the only thing that because there's a reason why this is up here. Structurally, it's good. Like, I feel like Scizor can do more than it ever has here. I feel like it should still be better than it is. But I feel like I'd still rather have any of the Psychic guys than Scizor, even though it works on this team. Like, I know why I also think they all got picked before he.
They all got picked before Scizor, yes.
So that's, even though he's generally thought of in that tier, because without recovery, like, this guy gets worn down really fast. Like, for some reason, because he's weak to rock. He's not weak to rocks, but he doesn't resist it like the other ones do. So he just gets worn down more. So he doesn't work as even like Mega Scizor when I use it now, like, it's really not a good pivot because it takes so much damage. It's really good with setup. So maybe that could be a thing. Then, like I mentioned, the special attack thing. I agree. Like the Trick Room mode, which I don't know if you said, like Mess Spirit into Terra Enam Therian is good.
Yeah.
Like, because is Therian speed 45?
Something like that. Something really
So,
pathetic. I think it
so
might be
that's
52.
I would almost rather have it. Like, I feel like it's actually low. I
40,
think I've used this.
46. It's
Yeah, so it's
46.
under 50, which is actually good because that means it gets under all the 50s, like hands and
And
both
Ursaluna.
Ursalunas. Like, that's actually good for it, I think, in this.
Yeah.
Um,
Once you're
and
like
yeah,
60 or below, you want to be low as possible.
yes. And also, I think the things people say about Orgerpon water, I think apply way more to like the 8-man pool, because there's so many like we talked about. Everyone has a high tier Terra in this, and like I'm not gonna just Terra my high tier Terra grass to beat yours because that stops me from doing the shit I need
The
to do to win
offensive
the
stuff.
game.
Yeah. The
So I
offensive
don't think
stuff.
that's nearly as viable in this because in other things, not everybody has a high tier Terra that built their team around. So like this is definitely a time. I like Mian Shao. I feel like unfortunately like there's no reason to use it as much as you could, even though I think it's probably pretty good. The
Yeah.
only thing I see, which the same thing happened with my team, it might just be like a way that the dex works now. There's this weird like gap between like 80 something and 105-ish speed that it's hard to put something in that that's gonna be fast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't remember what's Glamora's speed. Is it like 82 or
86.
something? Okay, so
86.
Glamora is your one guy, which is more usable than the guy I
Rotom
have.
Rotom is 91.
Yeah, which you can run fast. That gap
So
is a little
the
weird,
the,
but I
the
feel like
gap
everybody's gonna have that.
well, the gaps in this team are Weavile 125, Wellspring 110,
Yeah, that's
Mienshao 105, Garchomp 102, Rotom 91, Glamora 86, Mesprit I think is 80, and then after that,
yeah. So
etc., etc.
you can run Scarf, Glamora, and Rotom, so that's actually a better situation than mine has. Um, and keep like a Lando T has to run
Yeah.
speed boosting nature, which is what what I would be concerned about with that if there's too big a gap between like the Mienshao and the Mess Spirit, that there's too many things in that thing that actually benefit from running attack boosting. I usually don't care about that with like slow guy. Like once you go above 80 below 85 speed, I don't give a shit anymore. Like that doesn't matter to me. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. The only thing you can say is the special attack. That's really about it. Like this is
Yeah.
title
I,
contender.
I will say like so after Rotom, uh pretty much every role was actually had. Like I didn't really have anything that we necessarily needed. So I gave him two options between like a Conch Crawdont team, like a Terra Cronk Crawdont, and Mienshao Lantern.
I think this
Uh,
is better for this.
I think this is probably better.
I like Conk. I'm the
I'm
Conk guy, but
yeah, I'm
I think
happy he picked
I think
this
this is
one
good.
because I
Yeah, I
think
think this is good.
yeah. Although the Prio spam with like Sizzle
Prio
Conch plus
because steals resist both the other Prios would be good, but you're not like weak to steal. Like they
yeah
don't wall you. So I think this is probably correct because the 105 scarf is really good. Like that's like a
yeah.
premier scarf, and Mienshao already wants to do that. So I think that's probably better.
Plus it has Regenerator. But yeah, I actually I'm very high on this team. I was very happy with it when we got it this way. I think there's no noticeable like extreme weaknesses. I think it's pretty. Like, even the weaknesses are like pretty tepid in my opinion.
The only
Tepid.
thing is like somebody who really doesn't like Enam Therian could say there's too much relying on Enam Therian, but I think he's pretty good. So I'm not
I've
one of those people.
yeah I've always been decently high on Enamtherian, and then I also had it in FBL Beast or whatever, and it came in absolute clutch all three playoff games, and now I'm a big believer. I think it's a underrated Pokemon. All right, we can move on to number two. the runner-up of last season, the Garden City Grotles. So this team's just really, really fundamentally strong, right? Like it just has like a little bit of everything you want in a team. It's got the Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon's kind of a classic late because I think Garden City was what pick I think it nine or something,
12. She was
9 or
12. She
11,
was 12.
12.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Roaring Moon's like a at this point pretty patented late first round pick now. He's kind of risen in prominence even more so lately as like on really good teams. Roaring Moon's like the round. If you have Roaring Moon round 2, your team's really good. If you have it round 1 with like treads, that makes sense as well. It's like a wheel pick and 8mon. It's just such a really fundamentally like solid speed tier, solidly strong, can set up, can scarf, can band. It just does all those things really, really like fundamentally well. And then the team also has 3 premier, just fantastic Terra captains in Lando T, Necrozma, and Hands. So Necrozma and Hands obviously benefit more, but just having ground or flying on your Lando that you can click at any time you want is so huge.
This is honestly bullshit. Like the Lando. I don't know how I let this. It's
Yeah,
my
just-
fault. I was in there. I don't know how I let this be 1 point. It's so stupid.
Just having that like you just click one of the stabs and then you always have that freely, but your other 2 Terra captains are also insane, and then you have some really nice roll compression in Primarina, and then Metagross as your steal. So your fairy, we talk about these cores like these core concepts have kind of gone to the wayside in Gen 9, but your fairy dragon steal, really, really nice one with Primarina, Roaring Moon, Metagross. You have Talonflame here as your removal. I think Talonflame's pretty shit, but you don't really need it for the speed here. You just need it kind of for the removal, so I don't hate it. I love the Sableye. I think Sableye is really nice in SV because it has screens now. And I think those screens really help Hands and Necrozma, for example. Swalot, really good 2-pointer, probably the best 2-pointer in terms of like roll compression because it actually can do stuff and it's a grounded poison. And then you also have Horrorwark, who I think is a pretty solid Pokemon all around. Can do stuff. The illusions can kind of fake some people out. It can run like SD sets as well if people like it can be physical or special, so it can do all that. But really good round 1 mon on top of 3 really solid Terra captains on top of Metagross and Primarina with screen support and the classic low point poison. I just think this team is like standardly really powerful and strong. What do you think, Sa?
I think the top 3 that we've seen are like kind of interchangeable to me. Like if somebody wants this to be 1 or Valiants to be 1, I think it's fine. Prepping for Necrozma Hands is really hard. That's really challenging. I think that the thing, like if somebody were to say like why is this 1, I actually think it's the tear on the Lando that puts it over the top. That's why I keep saying that. Like you do have to run Terra Blast on this for it to have the flying stab, but the fact that Scarf or Band Lando doesn't have enough moves to not run Terra Blast. Like if you've ever made a Scarf Landorus Therian, it has 2 moves, maybe 3 if you run Stone Edge. So it can just put Terra Blast on there and lose nothing, right? How many times have you run a Scarf Lando and you just put rocks on there because there's no other move? So that's a massive buff, even though it has to run Terra Blast. I would have taken Lando T if she hadn't, and I would have taken Primarina the next pick if she hadn't. So I think those were picked at the right time because they wouldn't have gotten them. There's no way she should have gotten Metagross in the 4th round, based on the way the draft went. That's crazy that lasted that long. I think Talonflame is really bad. I could see that becoming an issue because this team really doesn't want to get spiked or rocked like that much, but Hands and Metagross are going to get kind of, because there's a lot of defensively on this team riding on this Metagross, so spikes is going to be a really big problem for this team. Same thing with the Hands if it's not the Terra that week.
Yeah, you're gonna have to bring Talonflame a lot to defog, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's the real weak point of the team, I think, is that like unless you just don't give a shit and you just attack, which I think is very viable.
You also
So
don't have spikes, which is unfortunate.
yeah, those are some of the things. Like I've run no spike teams. Like if they're not stopped by grounds or steals, which they're not. I guess Necrozma could really do with some spikes. Everything else, I think that's fine. But if you wanted the most out of Necrozma, you could probably use some help with the steals. Um, Terra Hands always cooks my ass. So like every team I build, Terra Hands cooks my ass. So I'm sure that like that's good. And then we were just talking about Necrozma earlier today. Necrozma is so good. I love Necros. Obviously, it doesn't like the fact it has rocks and it can run screens and it can be support really helps it. But it's such a dominant sweeper that it's like, why wouldn't you do that?
The ability that makes it so super effective attacks aren't really super effective is so annoying. It's such an
Yeah,
annoying ability to
and
have.
it has just huge stats. It has massive
Yeah.
stats. So I think like I don't know what Zoroark to discuss. I mean, they needed the speed on the Zoroark because without that, it's Moon to Lando, which is a lot. That's a really big jump. They got Lando as a good Scarfer, and they're going to run Zoroark as a Scarfer. They have two special attackers if they're not using Necrozma. Which Primarina's fine, but then you're really just running that. So they're really running a lot of weeks, like top 4, plus probably hands, and then interchanging the rest. Sableye, I think, is a much like I'd rather have Sableye than like Klefki because then I can't get trolled by Brick Break. Like just anything with Brick Break just comes in and Brick Breaks me for free. So I like Sableye in that, and I agree Swalot can actually come to games. But I could see how like the strength of this team is the 2 setup guys plus the extra thing on Lando, and then they only have 2 guys that I don't feel like really do anything in terms of damage unless you're really trying to, which is Talonflame and Sableye, which they might have to bring the Talonflame. That might be their downfall at some point. If it's anything, it's going to be that.
Yeah,
But
the downfall would be Talonflame having to come probably major. I think Talonflame's probably going to come like 5 weeks, which is tough.
yeah,
But it's what you have to do.
just hope you get those burns. Need those flame body procs. I also
Yeah,
think they might have to rely on Scarf Zoroark a lot, which isn't like really bad, but
yeah,
it would be what I would want to do.
that's like its third most common set or something.
Yeah. Good.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
All right, but overall, just a really solidly uh, strong team across the board. I think we can move on to number 1. And it's the man of the hour himself with his new logo, the New York Malamars.
Look at how
So,
big Blastoise is. Why is that guy
yeah,
so big?
Blastoise is huge here.
Why is he so big?
Well, it's
Is he bigger than Bloodmoon?
He's taking up more. He's taking up more
zoomed.
space than Bloodmoon.
He's zoomed in. He's
That's
built,
crazy.
a big man.
So I think I had this 2, I believe. Um, this team is really killer in that it has Meow, who is arguably the best Pokemon we allow, and then it also has Terrakelio, who Terrakelio getting all the way back to the Meow. They complement each other really well because Terra Meow can take on any ghosts that potentially want to come its way. And you also got one of the better steel types in Jirachi at the beginning of round 3. So that makes for a really solid 1, 2, 3 that complement each other. Jirachi can Healing Wish Keldeo back up. We're really like maximizing Keldeo's value here, I think, is the idea to try and clear the way so that it can get some sweeps going. And then after that, we get Dragonite, who no one likes to draft, even though it's like one of the better Pokemon in SV. So it's kind of odd. No one likes to draft it, and it's like really, really good, which is pretty funny. It always gets a ton of kills. It's like top 20 in PBO history in kills. It gets like a bunch of sweeps all the time, and no one wants to draft it at all. And then Bloodmoon round 5, another guy that people don't like to draft because, we know why. It's because it's not really a ground type. It doesn't do the ground roll. It doesn't take the hits that ground types would normally be tax to take in a game, and it doesn't set up hazards like ground types usually do. But in exchange for that, it's one of the best immediate offensive pressurers in the game. Its immediate damage output is insane. The resists that are normal resists aren't really resists to Bloodmoon. The steals take like 50, and the ghosts just die because of its ability. Terra Blastoise, always a big threat because of the Shell Smash capabilities. Uh, Diancie, probably on this team more of a hazard stacker with a potential to Terra, but probably not going to be the main Terra option, but it's always a threat in the back. But it's going to be probably mainly a rocker slash spiker. Jirachi's probably going to be clicking rocks a lot. That's kind of the trade off when you have Blood Moon. And then the bottom three are just like kind of just their Pokemon. They're okay. Without Terra, Flamigo is like an all right Pokemon, but it's not something to write home about in my opinion. Vileplume's pretty cool. Again, better with Terra, but you know, low tier Terras become less valuable when high tier Terra is a thing. Um, but Vileplume can still do stuff. It can Leech Seed. It can Strength Sap. It can be very annoying with Effect Spore. Typhlosion's pretty bad, but hey, what can you do? I think it's like a 2-pointer. I will say compared to like Valiant, so like I like the top a lot. I will say compared to Valiants and Sage, this team might have a few more guys that are like, because so here's a fundamental thing: low tier guys that are good are typically not attackers, and that's what Flamigo and Typhlosion are. Low tier guys that are good are usually utility. Usually utility in some way is usually how it goes. Because their offensive stats usually aren't as bonkers as the high tier guys, that's why the high tier guys are high tier and doing big damage. The low tier guys, at least in my opinion, that I really like to use, unless you're using Terra to kind of like flip the script, the low tier guys that I usually like to use are either they're like some sort of setup angle to like flip the script on kind of being a low tier bad guy, or they are utility, a la Volbeat, honestly, a la like Vileplume. So like I do like Vileplume here, a la like Sableye, for example, like prankster guys who get their value in some abstract, non-damaging way. Typhlosion and Flamigo, in that sense, are guys that I personally wouldn't draft because they are just damage dealers and they're low tier damage dealers. But what do you think, Za?
So again, with this or the two teams below, I think it could really be in any order. They do different things. So like this one has the top three is really a balanced core, then supported by like just crazy damage. So it's hard to get ready for both of those things. So when you see the team and Bloodmoon is the fifth Pokemon on the team, if you just ignore it, it's going to sweep you because there's not something that just inherently stops this guy. So that's the benefit of the Dragonite and the Ursaluna. They demand a one-for-one guy prepped to stop them, or you just lose. Like, you can't have no Dragonite plan. That doesn't work. The idea with the the Terras down here is just to make things that could be passive not, essentially. Like, because you want to bring Blastoise. It was Shell Smash is a big threat from the mid game. It can do a lot of damage. And Keldeo, if it specs, doesn't always need to fire the Terra. The setup sets need to Terra because they're almost always going to be Terra Blast. But if you're running the spec set or something, like, you have the advantage of not having to fire that unless you need it to get the KO. So you can bring these sets on the other guys. And like Ben, Diancie is having the Blood Moon. The reason, one, I took this because it was by far the best crown left. And two, I figured I could probably get the Diancie to have two rockers, even though it's not on Blood Moon. And then I already have the Trick Room package with Jirachi. So we saw it earlier with Metal having the other Ursaluna. If you're ever going to take this guy, you really need a Mess Spirit or an Uxie or a Jirachi to really get the most out of these guys because Trick Room is a very viable strategy, not as a team, but as a package if you have the payoff for it. And Blood Moon is arguably the ultimate payoff. Vileplume, I think, is kind of good in this meta. Like I think I mentioned earlier, just because water spam's really strong. And this thing's like typing plus the effect spore makes it really annoying for like a Palafin. Because it can take 2 ice punches, and then at that point you're 50-50 on if you're getting put to sleep or paralyzed. Like, it's not going to beat a Wellspring, but if the Wellspring wants to U-turn into it or hit it with the Zen Headbutt, again, it has to hit it twice. So, and it can't be pads. So it's going to take damage from Helmet, or it's going to get whatever. So I think Vileplume's actually relatively decent. Like, I really wanted this guy. Flamigo, I needed something specifically at this speed, like I mentioned earlier, because there's a weird gap that people thought I would actually bring. And everybody knows I like Flamigo, and I will bring this. And this is another, if you don't prepare for Scarf Flamigo or Ban Flamigo or Agility Flamigo, like that guy's base, the attack doesn't look that high, but because it's a Blaziken situation, because the moves are so strong, it does way more damage than it seems like it should, right? So it's not ideal for what would be in that spot. Like I could have taken Staraptor, but it was actually too fast. I wanted 90 speed, or roughly that, like 85. So that's why that guy's there. Typhlosion, I just fought for 2 points with it. It was either this or Golem, and I'm like, Typhlosion could come 1 week and just actually do something. I didn't think Golem could actually. If Alolan Golem could in any way hit ground Pokemon, I would have taken it. But don't. To the people listening to this, if you think I won't bring Typhlosion, do that at your own peril. I'll absolutely bring Typhlosion and Flamigo.
Flamigo. Yeah, I know you'll bring Flamigo. I actually think Flamigo's pretty good with Terra.
Yeah, he is good. Flamigo's it would be better with Terra. Flamigo has like the weirdest kit. It has like every setup move in the universe. It has agility. It has bulk up roost. It has SD. It has like actually a really crazy kit. Plus mirror on an ability is actually kind of crazy if you play it well. So no, I'm not bringing Flamigo more than like 2 or 3 times, but it was important. I used the Lando T as the example earlier. If it wasn't this guy at this speed that they know I could bring, Lando's just auto adamant. And I just don't think I would rather have them have to account for this than anything else that was available to me at the time. Also, my only, like, unless I'm running total speed control with Meow, I don't like just having Jirachi as a really viable Scarf option, because a Scarf Keldeo is fine. I don't want to run that, though. So I wanted another guy that could do damage, they had spammable types, and that you could click U-turn if necessary, that people would believe I would bring to a game. And it was either Flamigo or Porygon Z. But Porygon Z actually ended up being too many points. I messed up the points on Vileplume, so it had to be Flamigo. I like the guy, though. I actually like Flamigo. Yeah. Don't sleep on Agility Life Orb. Don't sleep on Agility Life Orb Flamigo.
I will say, me personally in prep, I would probably still go Adamant, even if there was a Flamigo on Lando T. I probably wouldn't respect it, but I know other people do.
The legendary Flamigo.
Flamigo!
Yeah, I like my team. I think if somebody thought Gardens, I don't think anything but, I guess I could hear an argument for Mary too. I guess those 4, after we really went over it. I think those are relatively interchangeable.
Yeah, I think any of those 4 could be number 1. They all have like some kind of flaw, but at the same time are like really, really strong. And I think the teams this season are stronger than last season and probably the season before that too. I think these are probably the strongest teams we've had since maybe like season 5.
Rips in season 5? Oh my goodness.
Soaring, is maybe this 6. The real schedule?
All right. We can end here. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're done.
Yeah. Bye everybody.
Yeah. Bye everyone. This might be getting cut or something because we kind of just wandered off for a second there.
Should we do an actual outro then?
Yeah. If y'all want to go for it, sure. Get in the moment.
Yo, what's poppin', PBO?
We're out of here.
We're out of here.